Hello, and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where two brothers argue about video games and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate the panic that sets in when one of my kids gets a fever.
And my name's Kyle. Today I hate most things right now.
Yeah.
Most stuff is bad right now.
Most stuff is bad. I do feel like this podcast isn't bad.
No.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
Surely not.
Yeah, my wife and my son both have a fever like right now as we record this. So it's good that we're recording this now because I will be sick again in like 2 days. So it's good that we're doing this now.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's great. I hit the point where I forgot that I get sick every other week. Like I was in the whatever, like the good mental space because it had been like 2 weeks since I'd been sick. Yeah. And now I'm right back to reality, smacked across the face. Welcome, everyone, to an episode of the Shea Hates Everything Podcast. As you've seen in the title of this episode, this is not clickbait. This is, I mean, it's like a little bit clickbait.
It's pretty clickbaity, dude.
The origins of clickbait were a misleading title.
Yeah.
Right? Like something to get you to click that, like, you won't believe what the number 5 richest person in the world is. And it's like, it's fucking this random rich person. You're like, oh, I mean, I would have believed that, actually. It's very obvious.
Right.
Like, that was the origins of clickbait, but I feel like it's turned into now, like, clickbait is anything that incites you to click on a thing. And that's just like, that's just what good titles do. Like, a good title gets you to click on it or listen to it.
Yeah, I would say there's some wiggle room in there, right? Where like it's done tastefully or not tastefully. And I think titling the episode of a podcast "Final Episode" is maybe leaning towards the cheesy end of the spectrum.
I totally agree with you, and it works with our brand, though, so I'm not bothered by it. But this is, in reality, technically, our final episode of the Shea Hates Everything podcast.
Oof. Just let it sink in.
No, I don't want to let it sink in, because I don't want people to... I don't want people to make...
Sit in that bad feeling. As you sit in your car on your drive to work, you're stressed out, you have so many things going on, and the one single constant in your life, the Shea Hates Everything podcast, that is not constant at all because we miss episodes all the time, it's no longer going to be here for you.
But it is, Kyle. It is.
What?
We have been planning this for literally months, and one of our top priorities was going into this not to mislead people into thinking that they were getting no more content from us. And here you are making them think that they're getting no more content from us. This is not the last time you will hear Kyle and I talk about video games on a podcast. This is not the last time you'll hear Kyle and I talk about video games on this RSS feed.
That's right.
The podcast feed that you are subscribed to, assuming that you are subscribed. If you are not, you should go ahead and do that because nothing will change from that perspective. Here is the high level. Kyle and I, for a very long time, I guess I'll say from me first, I love the brand of Shea Hates Everything. I started it on my own personal blog that only I was a part of. It was a tongue-in-cheek reference to a funny inside joke in college about me being super critical of things, and I thought it fit well with the type of content I wanted to make. I wanted to do reviews and rankings and all that good stuff, and I was really happy with it, with that brand. Kyle and I decided we wanted to do a podcast as an excuse for us to like catch up every other week. At the time, we were doing every other week episodes. And we did that for a while. It always felt weird for it to be the Shea Hates Everything podcast, but it was also easier to just attach it on to my existing brand than to make something totally separate.
And it never really bothered me not having the name and the title card.
Yeah, it was never my favorite thing, but it was fine. And then it was like, we've been doing it, right? So we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
When we quit doing the podcast after I had kids because life was too crazy, we brought it back. And then at that time we were like, should we change it? Nah, like might as well leverage the same RSS feed that we've already got built, leverage the same website that we've already got built. And so it just fell back into the status quo of Shea Hates Everything. But I have always wanted to change the name Shea Hates Everything for this podcast because it isn't just my show. I host it. I don't even host all the episodes. Kyle hosts Games That Suck and Games That Don't Suck.
That's right.
Which was also intentional because I'm not trying to be like the guy. And also Kyle is here. Like that was never the intent. And we're at a point now where it was the right time to pivot the brand. Okay. So this isn't just a rename of the podcast. We are also changing a good amount of the format. We're going to be doing new types of content also. But the biggest takeaways are this. For our existing audience, whom we love, nothing is going to change significantly enough that like I have no fears that any of you guys will listen to the next episode in March and be like, this isn't for me anymore. I have zero fears of that. But we want to like do a little bit more than we've been doing.
Yeah.
Do it in a little bit different way and just reset the feel and approach on the type of content that we make. Kyle, you are the source credit for the actual name of the new thing we're doing. The branding has been very collaborative, which you said as we were talking through how we wanted to talk about this. Credit to you. You don't want to take credit for the name, but you did come up with it. What's the name of the new podcast?
It's called Party Select.
Party Select.
Because
I like it.
The Shea Hates Everything thing, right? It was movies, books, comics, other shit that matters, TV, video games. It's all of the stuff. We end up very rarely do we talk about other stuff. It's mostly games. And that's kind of where we want to primarily focus in the rebrand. So Party Select being like an RPG character select screen or party screen where you're moving your characters around. And, you know, that name is also intentional because for a long time, you and I have we have brainstormed and discussed over and over and over again and not had like a good answer for it. But, you know, how do we get another voice on the podcast? Because I think just with you and I back and forth, our conversations tend to kind of not necessarily repeat themselves, but they have the same rhythm, which is maybe a good thing in some cases, but I think gets stale over the long term. And so
we have a pretty good rapport.
Yeah,
we have a pretty good vibe together. We are brothers after all.
Yeah.
But yes, one of the things that we have talked about is how do we bring someone else to have a different type of voice? And that, again, brought up the Shea Hates Everything branding. Like, I certainly don't want to bring a third person on and have it feel like it's the Shea show.
Right.
So that was also a huge impetus on the timing of this to press reset. So, yeah, that will be the biggest change is we're bringing on a third person on the podcast. We already know who that person is, so I'm sorry. We're not like doing auditions or anything. We already have this person. We've been working with this person for a couple of months now.
Yeah.
You'll find out, you know, the first Monday of March will be episode 1 of Party Select. We will be doing sort of an episode 0 little short intro style episode, both so you all, our existing listeners, can get to know this new person a little bit and get to know a little bit more of the vibe and the structure of how we're going to approach content. But also we expect, or we're going to make a more concerted attempt to grow our audience. None of that will be at the expense of the stuff that y'all enjoy about our conversations, but we just want to do more stuff. We want to be more creative and have more variety. So the big takeaways here, and then we can move on, I promise. If you are an existing subscriber of Shea Hates Everything, nothing needs to change in your podcast feed. We will be rebranding the existing podcast feed at the end of February, and that's it. You'll see Party Select, you'll see our logo, you'll see an episode 0 post, and then an episode 1 post in the first Monday of March, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do anything. We will no longer be posting the podcast to the Shea Hates Everything YouTube channel because we have already a new YouTube channel for Party Select. If you want to go ahead and go subscribe to that, when you're listening to this, they ain't nothing on there. But if you want to go ahead and subscribe to that so that you are ready when there is stuff on there, you can do that. We'll have a link in the description of this episode where you can go to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe and do all the good business. Because we are also changing the way we do the podcast from a production standpoint. It will still be a audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to this today. But we are also launching this as a video podcast now.
Yeah.
So if you would prefer to watch and see us, we got some really cool templates that we've been playing around with and formatting things.
Done a lot of graphic design stuff. We got a fucking dope-ass intro animation that I made.
Yes.
That I spent a ton of time on.
That will all be on the Party Select YouTube channel. Again, link is in the description. We will still be doing... I should say, as a standard, we will still be doing 2 episodes a month. We will have the flagship podcast first Monday of the month, per usual. We will also have a secondary podcast. So, in March, little tease for all y'all, because you guys are subscribers to us already. We're going to do Games of the Decade from 1991 to 2000.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of a culmination of all of our games that don't suck that we started in 1995. We're also bringing in this new person to get their take on all these games. So that'll be a really fun conversation.
Yeah.
That will be a video on the YouTube channel, but it'll also be an audio podcast just like we've always done.
Yep.
We are also going to be doing other types of content, right? We're going to be doing tier lists, like we did the Pokemon tier list.
Yeah, we got a lot of great feedback on that. And we actually...
Yeah.
We got, weirdly a ton of views on it as well. Really good engagement on YouTube, which, that makes me feel like people care about that kind of content, so that's kind of reinforces the desire to do them, because it's always more fun. That's why we do emails on the podcast, which we will continue to do on the Party Select podcast. But being able to having it feel like a connection to the community, having it feel like a conversation is part of what motivates this as well, the desire to do this stuff. So seeing that kind of interest generated was really exciting, and so we want to continue to capture that. Yeah. And some of that stuff will only live on YouTube. Some of it will post as a podcast. It just depends on if it's best as a video or less good as an audio format. We'll just be making that decision. Yeah.
But the key point is that if you are a diehard podcast listener, you'll still be getting 2 episodes a month from us for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
So again, nothing about that changes. The podcast itself, we'll talk more about this on episode 0 that I'll post in late February. But we're still talking video games. We're still taking your emails, like Kyle said. We're still going to do, wacky, fun things. We'll still have our releases. We're still going to do Game Club. It might change a little bit the way that we structure it and do it, but that kind of content will still exist on the pod. Right. So have no fear. All that's still going to exist. Other thing that I want to mention very briefly, because this is the quote-unquote final episode of Shea Hates Everything, we don't want it to feel like it's a downer, this is the end of this thing, without it also being, yay, we're excited about the new thing. So, if you're still listening to this episode, 13 minutes in, if you listen to the end, you'll get a little tease for our new intro music for Party Select.
Yeah.
It is very fun. It is very cool.
It's a fucking slapper, dude.
It is a banger for sure.
It's been stuck in my head for a month.
But yes, we're very excited. Like I said, we've been working on this for a couple of months behind the scenes. I've mentioned a handful of times on the pod that we've been working on stuff. We got a lot of big ideas, and this is it. It's more than just, we're launching a new show as part of our podcast. No, baby. We're blowing this whole thing up, and it's very exciting.
Yeah. And it's the move to Party Select, the new rebrand, bringing on a third person, it enables us to do more fun types of content and be goofier and be more playful with the kinds of things that we're doing. And also provides us, Shea and I, with a little more accountability, bringing another person in who's not a member of our family, to show up. And
spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's not our dad. It's not our mom.
It's our secret third brother.
Oh, who was the brother you lied to me as a kid?
Chris,
yes.
He died. He choked on mom's meatloaf, and that's why we never ate meatloaf.
Oh my god.
Man, our older brother Chris.
The levels of depravity of the lies you would tell my younger self. So it's not Chris. We did not manifest him out
True.
of the ether. So, but yeah, it there are a lot of reasons to be excited. This person has awesome chemistry with us. We've been in contact with them for a very, very, very long time. And the three of us have had a Discord chat going daily for like over a year now. So really, really excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So end of Feb, look for Party Select to take over for Shea Hates Everything, and be sure to tune in for our episode 0 and episode 1 at the beginning of March. It's going to be very fun. This will be the only piece of content for Shea Hates Everything prior to that launch at the end of February. Right. So we won't have like a mid-month episode this month just because we've been in planning mode and we want to wait and do all the stuff with Party Select. So this will be the only like formal episode in February. So, yes. How about we move on and actually talk about some video games?
Fine.
Yes, that is still why we are here and why we are doing this.
All right.
Thank you to everyone who checked out all of our like superlative stuff, our Game of the Year stuff, games that suck, games that don't suck for 2024. Those are really well received and super fun to do as always. And it was part of that, like, we just want to do more than we've done before. Right. And that's, led to more Game of the Year content too. We talked a shit ton about games from 2024 on that podcast. And because we missed the January episode, because we were sick.
Super
spoiler
sick.
alert. Guess what? We're always fucking sick. Another benefit of having a third person is if one of us is sick, we don't have to skip the podcast.
That's right.
But like, our Game Club game from December was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yeah.
We talked about that a pretty fair amount.
Oh,
so we're going to skip. We're going to skip past the like end of year rush to play a bunch of things for the purpose of today's conversation and really catch up on what we've been playing in January post Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll start just by saying, because I mentioned this, I think, on our Games That Don't Suck pod, there were a handful of games that I intended to play or wanted to play that I just didn't make it in time. And one of the ones at the top of that list was Animal Well.
Yes.
It was a game that I have access to because I have the PlayStation Plus Premium thing right now. And I felt like if I played it, it's a game that might crack my top 10. And the answer to that is yes, because I've been playing Animal Well. I currently, I was just moving it around. And I'm, half a dozen, maybe a little bit less. On How Long to Beat, it was like, you can beat Animal Well in 7 hours. And I was like, no, you cannot, dude. Like, who's beating Animal Well in 7 hours? I'm like not even halfway through the game.
Skill issue.
But yeah, it's definitely a game that'll be in my top 10. So apologies to Tales of Gonzera Zhao, but you're getting bounced into an honorable mention. But yeah, I think as expected, the vibes of that game are extremely good. The combination of like the eerie music and like the pixelated, very retro aesthetic with a lot of the neon, super shiny, bright colors, the excellent moody lighting. There's like a creepiness factor to this game that is honestly even more present than I expected it to be. And I'm not normally a huge fan of that type of vibe because I don't like feeling spooked when I'm playing a game.
I didn't know this had any of that in it. I didn't know that about it.
There's nothing that is, maybe there's one thing. At least in my experience thus far, there's only one thing that is like overtly trying to creep you out.
Okay.
It's just the general atmosphere. Like, you're kind of like in this foresty, swampy, sewer kind of vibe. There are animals everywhere, but they're mostly like outlines, and they have bright, shiny eyes, and just the, like outlines of these animalistic characters. And some of them are a little bit like not, like something seems not quite right with them. The only like overtly creepy moment, it has been in some of the trailers. There's a moment where like you come across this statue or sort of like tribute thing to like where there's this like dog wolf kind of character statue, and it has like a disc, like a because I'm thinking of disc golf. What's that called? A frisbee. There's like a frisbee on it.
Okay.
And if you pick up the frisbee, the ghost of the dog comes out and it chases you from screen to screen. I didn't see a spot where I can get rid of it, so I had to put the frisbee back because I didn't like being chased by spooky ghost dog.
Sure.
That was scary. That was like the only moment that was like overtly like trying to creep you out with the vibe of it.
Don't take the dog's frisbee, bro.
I did, man. I put it back. And then, unfortunately, spoiler alert, I found a, like, fake frisbee. And so I did the Indiana Jones quick swap.
Nice.
And it worked. And so I have a frisbee now, which I can use to distract other dogs. It's a very cool mechanic.
Dogs are so dumb, you know what I'm saying?
Dogs are so dumb, but we love them. But yeah, I'm very impressed by both the depth of options and mechanics in this game, a lot of which are obfuscated, which, you know, people have been loud and proud talking about the Fez-ness of this game.
Fez, yeah.
That's not the type of stuff that I'm particularly interested in engaging with. Like, I have found half a dozen things that the game doesn't let me use, and I'm like, what the fuck is this for? What are the matches for? I don't know. I found a couple matches. I'm sure eventually that'll be something.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not trying to uncover all the secrets, right? Like, I'm not going to go to Reddit and try to uncover X and Y and Z. There are a bunch of collectible eggs, and there's like an egg throne room. I'm sure that's something also, but the eggs haven't done anything thus far other than look different and be cute and cool. But even still, like, playing it at, I guess you would call a surface level, it's a really good Metroidvania. It's a really good, the folks on the Besties like to frame these games as search action games,
sure,
which is a very odd phrase. There's no real action in this game. The most action you have is you panic, set off fireworks to avoid these creepy ghosts from killing you occasionally. Okay. But yeah, the vibes are super there. The exploration and the mystery is very satisfying to uncover. There's not a lot of challenging platforming, a decent amount of legitimately challenging platforming in the game, and certainly tons of different, very creative puzzles. It's an excellent Metroidvania that is super simple if you want it to be simple, with like the right kinds of complexity in the puzzles that you would expect.
Okay.
For people looking for something deeper, there is plenty of it there. I am not, and engaging with it at a surface level is plenty good for me. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, like,
right?
I think that's an important distinction when people hold up Fez as an example. Like, you can't do that with Fez. There is no surface level engaging with Fez. In order to beat the game, you have to dive into its many secrets and kind of suss those solutions out. So it's good. Yeah. It's good that Animal Well has, you know, another side of it that the more casual player, more casually curious player can still get a lot out of. I think that's cool.
Yeah, casually curious is a good way of putting that, because there are plenty of times, and it's kind of inherent to a game like this, right, where I'll get into a room, see a gap that I can't cross, or a type of animal that, like, right now, I got to a room where there is like a little bear cub kind of animal in a little cave, and when I walk towards it, it like huddles back and hides in its cave. There's nothing else I can do in the room. If I turn my back on the bear, it comes back out. But if I look at him, he goes back into the cave. At some point, I'm going to get something that'll help me do something with the bear.
Right.
But I don't have it yet. I think that's part of the challenge with games like these, is like, I don't think I have what I need. I can kind of just try everything. Like, I threw some fireworks and it just scared him, and then I felt guilty because, of course, fireworks would scare him. He's a very timid bear. But like, I wanted to see what would happen. And I like that the game encourages that kind of experimentation.
Right.
But the potential downside is I'm constantly questioning, am I missing something? Literally? Or am I missing something in that I haven't noticed something, or I haven't thought of a use case for my items to get past what I need to get? And so that it creates a little bit of like FOMO, maybe, that like, if I leave this room, I'm going to forget where it is. And then maybe I'll find a thing and could be able to come back, but maybe not. Maybe I already have what I need and I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. So that it's nothing wrong with this style of game. It's a personal like frustration that I can get at times with Metroidvanias, but there's no shortage of shit to go and find in this game. So I have not yet felt like I'm going to miss something, because the best example I have of not knowing how to progress is that bear. And I just told the story, so I remember where the bear is. Right. I'm going to figure that bear out. So yeah, Animal Well is extremely excellent as expected, but I'm relieved that I'm really liking it, because a lot of games that people tout beyond belief, I end up playing and I'm like, like Breath of the Wild, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Like there have been a handful of those games that everyone's like, this is the best game ever made. And then I play it and I'm like, no, not for me, really.
A lot of that comes from younger people, or the fact that the gaming audience is growing, so more kinds of people from various groups or whatever are coming in and playing games for the first time, and so they're having these types of experiences for the first time, whereas you and I have been playing games since like we were in basically diapers, and we see the lineage of those systems, and so it doesn't shock and surprise us as often as it does someone coming in who's new. So it's like, maybe like the baby's first thing as a pejorative, but like that phenomena of, oh, it's the first time my brain has been turned in this direction by this medium. That's so cool. I want other people to have that experience. But hey, maybe there's been a similar experience before. They just didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's possible. Like, I think maybe Baldur's Gate 3 is not a good example of that, because that game is... nothing has done what that game did.
Not at
I
that
just
level.
happened to not enjoy that. Like, I think of like The Witcher 3, right? Like,
yeah.
When The Witcher 3 came out, a lot of people were saying this is the best game ever made at this point. And I'm not going to take any shade at the writing and the characters in that game, because they're phenomenal. Yeah. But to me, like, the combat was extremely bad. Very, very unfun. It's subjective. It's just my opinion. But I think that my thing is I have a hard time glossing over a largely bad system in a game. Not that I can't look past it to enjoy the good aspects, but when I think of like, this is one of the best games I've played in the last 5 years, if there's a thing about the game that I think is really bad, it's hard for me to think of it that way, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Animal Well is one of the best games I've ever played, but a lot of people say that it is, and I see that. I have not come across anything in Animal Well that's like, why isn't anyone talking about how this thing sucks in this game?
Sure.
There hasn't been anything like that, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a game that I can just both respect and enjoy.
It has proved shielded from Shea's criticism.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
Nice job, Animal Well.
We'll get there. I'm sure I'll find something. I'll find something. What about you? What have you been enjoying over the last several weeks?
Yeah, so most recently, I picked up Dynasty Warriors Origins and started playing that. Dynasty Warriors is a weird series. So those games were all those games were all the exact same game for a long time. But the last couple have really tried to like iterate on the formula or introduce new systems and things. I think the previous Dynasty Warriors games was an open world game that had like...
That was Dynasty Warriors 9, right?
Yeah. It had like crafting and it ran like complete ass, and the open world was not interesting. All those activities were very like under-designed and bare bones, and it was not fun. I got like 8 or 9 hours into it and was like, I just can't anymore. And it ran terribly. It was like Pokemon Scarlet Violet bad. Which is saying something. But this one, I mean, this one runs really well. I have not encountered slowdown yet, and they do some interesting... all right. In all the previous Dynasty Warriors games, you've been playing as these like iconic heroes of lore. Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, Cao Cao, Liu Bei. So it's actually Cao Cao. I didn't realize that. Liu Bei.
This is America? I take pride in my ignorance.
I want to play as Coco. I like
to be
chocolate.
fair, I was like 11 when I first played Dynasty Warriors, and that's what stuck in my head.
For sure. So normally you're playing as these like historic figures. In this one, you play as generic ass anime protag who has, you guessed it, lost his memory. And it's so fucking stupid, dude. Like, so not that I've ever really paid attention to any of the cutscenes in the Dynasty Warriors games, but I am actively skipping the cutscenes in this because they are so anime cringy. But the game itself, like the innovations they've done and the expansion on the existing combat systems, it's really, really good and makes for a much more satisfying, engaging moment-to-moment gameplay experience. So, for example, in previous Dynasty Warriors games, each unit would have kind of like a commander guy who's like has slightly more health, and there are varying tiers of this commander, all the way up to like actually named historical figures, who are like the big bosses with the crazier health bars and abilities and stuff. But
Lu-Bu.
yeah, like Lu-Bu. And in this one, they have, I guess, like increased the health pool of those units and like given them more special abilities and things. So the mini bosses are more boss-like. And to compensate for that, they've introduced a lot of new like combo and fighting and move mechanics. Like there's a parry now. So like, and depending on what kind of attack you want to do, a different counter attack or parry. So like a normal attack, you can just guard at the last second and stagger them, and then like hit them and do damage to them, and like these little shields over their health bar go down. You can actually stagger them and like do a bunch of extra damage to them, like do a button prompt and then button mashy thing to like take off a huge chunk of their health if you stagger them. And they can be re-staggered, whatever. But sometimes they have moves that are unblockable, so there's now a dodge move. You can dodge them, or you can interrupt them if you have enough like bravery, which is like a separate meter from your Muso. Because like the Muso attack, if people don't know, that's like your big super attack that you hit enough enemies or get hit enough times, the meter fills, and you hit a button and it does like a very classic Dynasty Warriors sound, like sound, and then he does like a big move and you kill a bunch of dudes, or do a bunch of damage to a boss. That's the Muso. The bravery unit is like a series of pips that slowly fill over time separately. And you cash those in to use special moves that you have mapped to L1 and then any of the 4 face buttons. That's how you activate them. And you are learning new moves. There's a skill tree in this. Learning new moves. Some of those moves...
Weird.
Yeah, some of those moves are counters for the unblockable attacks. So, like, one of them is, like, the first one you have is, like, a fist palm push forward. So it's, like, a really close range, like, fist palm forward, like, stun attack that interrupts that like big unblockable attack, and then you could go in and do a bunch of damage to their shields and then stagger them and do big damage. Another one I unlocked was for the spear, where I jump backwards up into the air and then like throw my spear down, and it like explodes and like damages a bunch of enemies, but also counters their big attack. And then I'm in the air, so I can then like chain that into a bunch of aerial combo stuff. There's just a bunch of really cool combat shit that's really fun and satisfying. As you use different types of weapons, it seems like there are maybe 9 or 10 types of weapons. You gain, prowess. I don't know what they call it, but prowess with those weapons. And each time you go up a pip on the prowess thing with those, like a meter that's filling. Every time you reach like a node, you get some sort of a bonus, or like unlock a new move set or a new function with that weapon. And then also that increases your overall rank by 1. So it encourages you to diversify the kinds of weapons that you're using, because the higher you get up in the prowess meter for a particular weapon, the longer it takes to get from pip to pip, so the longer it would take you to rank up. You want to diversify. Every time you unlock a new kind of weapon, you want to use it for a little while to like get some of those points early to rank yourself up a little bit faster, which provides its own bonuses. There's an overworld map that you run around on, like sort of like a miniature, like a miniature set thing on like it's not actually on a table, but it looks like that kind of diorama like thing where you're running around the world, interacting with stuff. You're like picking up some ore that seems to respawn every now and again, and you can craft gems with that ore, which are like accessories that give you buffs. So you can have various different kinds of builds that you're going for as well. And all of that stuff, like there are a lot of systems, but they all feel pretty tight and pretty focused, which I really appreciate, in a way that the Dynasty Warriors 9 stuff did not at all feel like it had kind of gone through the full iteration cycle. This feels like pretty tight, pretty useful stuff, and relatively straightforward in terms of like understanding how you get to the next level on a thing. So very happy with all of that. It's been a great time. So apart from the main missions, there are now like repeatable random side things, and like some of them will literally take like 60 seconds to complete and give you like a little bonus and maybe some extra skill points to pump into your skill tree or some money or whatever to buy equipment or whatever. Some of them are like missions that are like sort of like short levels where there's a little bit more to them. There's kind of like 3 tiers of things, right? This is like the super short 60-second one. There's like a mission that might take like 2 to 3 minutes. And then there's like the big combat main story missions, which are usually like 10 to 15 minutes long, maybe longer, depending. And so it's nice to have that variety in experience structure, because it also gives you control over what you want to engage with. If you're like, hey, I'm just hopping on to like play on my break or whatever, I can go do a couple of those super short missions, get some skill points, maybe level something up, increase my prowess with a weapon, collect some ore to like craft some more gem things to level those up, whatever it might be. Or if I'm sitting down to really play the game, I can go do the next big story mission, make some progress there, maybe unlock a new type of weapon that I can then like mess around with on the side. So all like the gamey game stuff in it is really, really good, and I think is maybe the best Dynasty Warriors has felt.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You're also like, you have a horse, you're leveling up that horse, man. The more you use that horse
armor.
I haven't seen armor yet, but the more you level up that horse, the better speed it gets. Like the more dash things you can do with it in a row. Everything levels up, and that feels pretty good. But yeah, I've been really happy with it.
Do you feel like anything is lost in like making this game less mindless? Because to me, that was always the appeal.
No,
was the mindlessness of killing 1,000 dudes on a map.
No, because you still get that in the big story missions. Like, I killed 1,500 dudes in a story mission, and I was just fucking mowing through them, and it was awesome.
I just mean with more moveset variety and stuff. Like, do you feel like... I mean, this is going to sound like an annoying potential criticism, but do you feel like you have to try at the game?
No, because, like, really, now that... Because, like, when I'm using a spear, it's really just reading... And you only ever have to do this for, like, the mini-boss or boss-level enemies. But I'm just, like, reading what attack they're doing. If it's a normal attack, I'm just going to try and counter-guard it and time that. If it's an orange big attack, I'm going to use my orange counter move, provided I have enough bravery saved up. Otherwise, I'm just going to dodge around it and then keep fighting. But, like, it's still mindless. Like, yeah, they have, like, all the Devil May Cry, like, if you do square, square, triangle, it's one thing. Square, 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 triangle is another. Square, 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 triangle is a different one. Or you can charge up your triangles. I'm never doing any of that. It's nice to have the option, because, like, if it does get mindless, I might switch it up for, like, 10 seconds and do a different kind of combo on this group just for fun. But so it's nice to have the option, but I often don't. I'm only really changing how I play when I engage with, like, the named health bar enemies.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally fine. Because that's similar to what it has always been.
Yes.
Like, I think for Dynasty Warriors 5 and 6, there were those same kind of, like, unit commanders that had a little bit more health. Here they've just increased that a little bit more so that you can get a stagger in and get a kill in that way. Those enemies still drop, like, new weapons and stuff for you, like different leveled weapons and all that. I think in Dynasty Warriors 6 they were doing that. I think that's the first one they did, like, the leveled weapon stuff where you could also, like, level up your retainers and all that. So they're still doing that kind of stuff. I haven't gotten retainers yet, but leveling up all the weapons and all that. That's definitely still a thing. But yeah, the moment-to-moment action stuff is still just as mindless, like when you're mowing through hordes and hordes of dudes. Like, that is still just as fun, and there's still a lot of it. They break it up maybe a little bit more with those named enemy stuff, but that's, to me, that's all welcome, because I think it's satisfying to get in a good counter, especially when you're using a weapon like the spear, where when I counter and then counter attack, I'm doing, like, a lot of collateral to all the enemies around him too, which is fun. But yeah, they've got a lot of good loops going. They are super dialed in on this one.
It is a bummer to lose, like, all of the famous characters that you got to play.
Like, you're playing alongside them, And
yeah,
I will
yeah,
say,
but like that was part of the fun. Was
in the tutorial, I got to play as Guan Yu for like 30 seconds, and I haven't had another opportunity to do that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen again or not. But yeah, that is. I would agree. That's the one thing that I am missing. Is I liked being able to play as a character. And
so many characters.
Yeah, dude.
And they all had, I mean, not all of them, but almost all of them had such unique movesets and weapons and stuff. Like, I appreciate that you have the weapon customizability and different movesets and everything, and you're leveling up all those as your one character. But the part of the fun was having that, like, character select thing and playing their story.
Yeah.
Everything starts with the Yellow Turban Rebellion.
Oh,
but from
this
there,
one
like,
does too. Don't worry.
Yeah, it always gets it. But that all sounds pretty awesome.
It's fucking good, dude.
I might have to like move that up on my might playlist.
It's really good. Dynasty Warriors Origins. I highly recommend it. If you've ever played Dynasty Warriors and liked it, I highly recommend it. If you're not into that, I don't think this does anything to like bring a new person in, but it definitely does enough to keep the existing people around for sure.
Well, and for people like us that love the series but have fallen off of it over the
bring
years.
us back, yeah.
Yep. Sweet. Tell me about Sulfur.
Oh, yeah.
So that's still in early access, yeah?
Yeah. So I think the last time I talked about Sulfur, I was complaining about the inventory storage.
Okay.
And they did the thing that I said they should do, which is, hey, increase the storage, but like give it like a narrative reason for being in there, make it a thing that you like find in the dungeon or can buy or craft or whatever. And that's exactly what they did. they made it like
they're listeners.
Yeah, there's stuff that you can find in the dungeon, there's stuff that you can buy, and then there's like extra storage things around the kind of central encampment, the church, that you can run and store stuff in. So that problem is largely solved. They've been like, they do new updates every other week on it, like balancing patches. They did a performance patch like a month or so ago that really helped, because I played through all the content that's in it right now, and you know, beat the kind of final boss. I just had a really good like build, like couple of weapons that I put together that just fucking wrecked. But the final area, I was having some really bad frame rate dips in some places. I think it's because the blood splatter wasn't well optimized, but they've gone through and fixed that. I think there were a lot of mines in the last area, and I guess those weren't well optimized. They went through and fixed that stuff. So they've been doing, you know, technical work on the back end, as well as adding like new weapons, new enemy types, and obviously the storage solution stuff. Nice. Yeah, Sulfur, super, super, super good. Still highly recommend it. If folks want to wait until like the next big content update drops, I think that might be smart. Not that I think there isn't much to the game. There are like 5 or 6 areas for you to go through in the current build. All with like different kinds of enemies and like different specializations and stuff that you're going to want to have a variety of builds for. Yeah, this is a pretty easy recommend for me.
Do they have like a roadmap to 1.0 or anything? Like
that's a good
indication
question.
Of when that'll happen.
I think so. Sulfur.
Everybody does early access so differently.
Yeah. There's the warehouse.
That's a
update.
game that I'd be interested in checking out, but I rarely like getting in on an early access thing, because at least the way that I play games, I'm going to do what you got, I'm going to forget about it, and then when it goes to 1.0, I'm going to be like, but I already played so much of this, I don't need to go back. And I want the best experience.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. This is the kind of game where like your save will stick, it seems like. Yeah. Like they're never going to, it doesn't seem like the kind of game that you're gonna have to make a new save on ever. So like my progress will have stuck, and I'll still have all my stuff that I've built up for when new content comes out, and I'll jump in when that happens. But yeah, I don't see a roadmap, like not in the title for any of these Steam updates yet. But okay, it's possible there's one there, but I'm not going to spend much time digging into that right now. But yeah, it's pretty cheap on Steam if people are into that kind of.
It's on sale right now.
Oh, is it? Nice. Yeah, I recommend people check that out. If it intrigued you the first time I talked about it, but you had reservations, don't, because they've been putting in some good work on it.
Yeah. Looks cool.
What else have you been playing?
Well, I know both been playing some older stuff, so I can chat about mine. I think we talked last podcast. I had started the old Ratchet and Clank games with my kids, just looking for something post Astrobot, and we played through the 2016 Ratchet and Clank, and then that's why I went and bought the PlayStation Plus Premium. Was they have all the Ratchet and Clank games on there, and I was like, ooh, let's go back to the original. And we had played the first one, and it has not aged well at all. And so we stopped playing the first one, and I jumped to Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction, the PS3. I think it was a launch title or launch window title. One of my favorite games in the early PS3 days. This was before trophies existed.
Right.
And I've always been very bummed that they never added trophies. Because I've platinumed every other mainline Ratchet and Clank game.
Okay.
Crack in Time, Into the Nexus, Rift Apart. There was another one in there. Oh, the 2016 remake of the first one. I think those are the 4 that I platinumed.
Okay.
But yeah, I would love to have an excuse to platinum Tools of Destruction. I'll say, the game itself holds up. The art direction stands the test of time, even if the fidelity isn't anywhere near what it is today in the Ratchet and Clank series. I think the writing also holds up really well. It's just very pithy, smart, toilet humor, effectively. Just really lovable characters. The issue that I'm having is a PlayStation Now issue. They're streaming.
Man. I've had a lot of problems with it over the years.
The game runs like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
I regularly am playing at 10 frames a second. There is really inconsistent stuttering that is happening. The game freezes regularly for several seconds, and it can make combat a challenge at times. There are the sort of puzzle mechanic that they have, if you remember, they leveraged the six axes controller a lot in that, where they do the tilting. It's basically one of those boards with a metal ball that you tilt with the controller to move the board, which gravity moves the ball as a connecting point between these lasers that are going through. That is very hard because the game stutters so poorly. It's not every time, but there have been several times where it takes me 3 or 4 tries, not because I am doing anything wrong, but because there's so much slowdown and freezing that I just can't get the ball where it needs to go in enough time. And it is so frustrating. So that part of it is a huge bummer. It's not the fault of the game, but it does make me very concerned for other games that I will play through this service.
Yeah.
I bought this to play Ratchet and Clank with my kids. I spent $70 for the 9 months to play just Ratchet and Clank. To be fair, I've played other stuff. I'm playing Animal Well because I have this. I wouldn't otherwise be playing Animal Well. But it was mostly to play Ratchet and Clank with my kids. It was worth the money for that purpose. If this is how the other games run, that I will not be psyched about that.
It's just that is... So, to segue into the old stuff that I've been playing, do you have anything else you want to say about Ratchet and Clank?
No, just that it's good.
Yeah.
But the PlayStation Now is not.
Yeah, so my previous experience with PlayStation Now was trying to play Killzone 2. This was well over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. So, who knows? But it's disheartening to hear that the same kind of problems persist on those PS3 titles specifically.
Yeah.
But Killzone 2 was unplayable with the lag and the latency, the stuttering. It was very, very bad on PlayStation Now. So, I have recently acquired all the physical copies of the Killzone games, and I played through pretty much all of them. I played Killzone 2, 3, and Mercenaries. I talked about playing Killzone 2 on one of our superlative episodes for Best Old Game. That game holds up so fucking well. It is beautiful. Killzone 3 is also very, very good. Mercenaries on the Vita is secretly one of the best Vita games. It is It is so good. It also looks incredible. It runs really well. The touch stuff was pretty intuitive. I was just crazy impressed with the Killzone Mercenaries. I ended up playing it on my part of it on my PlayStation TV that I recently acquired, as a way to be able to stream and share and record Vita games. And that actually
what is this?
Well. So do you remember the PlayStation TV, Shay?
No.
So it's this tiny little rectangular box, very similar to like a Steam Link size. And this came out in the Vita generation, and the UI is the same as the Vita, where it's the bubbles for the apps and stuff. It's just running the Vita architecture on this little box that you could connect to the TV. And it has a little port on the side for you to plug in Vita games and a USB so you can connect your controller. I've been doing DualShock 4. Because the DualShock 4 has a trackpad where you can map some like touch controls to it. How the Vita had front and back touch, you can do that, emulate that with the touchpad on the DualShock 4. So that enables you to play a lot of kind of games that you wouldn't be able to play.
I googled PlayStation TV, and one of the top results is a Reddit thread. Does anyone know what the PS TV was for?
Yeah. So interestingly, it's like well over half the PlayStation Vita library is not playable on the PlayStation TV because of
that is crazy.
Because of those touch controls, right? So
you have to emulate that.
Yeah, there's some weirdness there. Well, because also the DualShock 4 wasn't a thing when the PS TV originally came out as PS3. And then even after the DualShock 4 came out and they enabled that touchpad control stuff, they have this whole blacklist of games that even if you pop them in, Killzone Mercenaries, Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified being amongst them. I think Gravity Rush doesn't work because of like the accelerometer stuff and some touchscreen stuff. Even if you pop those carts in, it won't run them. Like it'll install them, but you go to start it and it won't run it. I found a way around that restriction by doing some things that involved plugging my PlayStation TV into my computer and doing some other things. So now I can play any PS Vita game I want on my PS TV, which is terrific. I could do the whole, hey, download every game, but that's illegal. I'm not going to do that. I specifically just wanted to be able to plug my cartridges that I own into and play on this thing on a TV. And so far, it's been working great for that. But yeah, so anyways, I digress majorly. Killzone Mercenaries is incredible. I also played a few hours of Killzone Liberation on the PSP and Killzone Shadowfall on the PS4, the last one.
I was going to ask about Shadowfall. So, I was very underwhelmed by that game.
Yeah, dude, I didn't remember how bad it was. It kind of sucks.
It looks
incredible.
At least at the time. It looks unbelievably
good. It still looks
good.
really, really good on PS4.
Yeah.
Well, I put it into my PS5 and played it, but that's not doing anything extra.
Right.
It still looks incredible. I would say like Liberation on the PSP still has some style to it. It's kind of like an isometric kind of pulled back view. Playing that game blows ass. That is just not a good experience. So I only played a couple hours of it. But yeah, Shadowfall was a huge disappointment. Like a really down note to kind of end the series on for me playing through all of them. But man, 2, 3, and Mercenaries, like those are 3 really, really good, incredible video games. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that the story's really good. It's like fun and campy and dumb. But the moment to moment, it's beautiful. The guns are awesome. It's just there's something magical about that. And it's a really terrific time playing those.
Nice.
Some other old games I was playing just a couple days ago, very recent. I started and completed in one sitting, because it's only 2.5 hours long, a video game that is a movie adaptation. Well, it's not an adaptation. It's actually a movie sequel, a direct sequel. It takes place 5 hours after the conclusion of the blockbuster film Wanted, starring Angelina Jolie and James McAvoy.
Yeah.
I played
phenomenal film.
Wanted Weapons of Fate on the PlayStation 3.
I did not know this game existed.
Well, I'll save you some Googling and some looking up. It's extremely mediocre, and in some areas, extremely bad. In other areas, fucking hilarious, dude. The CG cutscenes in this game look like CG cutscenes from like a PlayStation 1 era game. They are so soft and bad and like goofy looking. Oh, they're awful.
And when did this come out? Like 2008?
That's a good question. I already put it on the shelf. I guess Google will be my friend. Wanted.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah. Yep, 2008. So 2008 is like towards the end of peak Attitude era, like shitty gamer Attitude era. So I don't think I've actually seen the movie Wanted. I don't remember that attitude being as in your face and prevalent in the movie, but maybe it's because I didn't see it. I don't know.
I mean, no, other than like, hey, Angelina Jolie's really hot, right, guys? Like, other than that kind of thing, it was not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty like straight-laced.
Okay, so the game movie is very much trying to do like a Max Payne narration of James McAvoy, whose character model looks like AI tried to draw James McAvoy from Police Sketches Only.
Amazing.
It is terrifying looking. There are like 2 degrees of turn in the head that look like James McAvoy, but every other angle is just a nightmare. And it's voiced by one of the Poyle brothers from It's Always Sunny. He does a fake James McAvoy voice.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
I gotta look this
the
up.
writing. So
it has to be from.
I don't.
Jimmy Simpson.
Jimmy Simpson. Yes,
the blonde guy.
Yes.
Jimmy Simpson is like legit one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, he does the voice of James McAvoy in Wanted: Weapons of Fate.
That's insane. Peter Stormare is in this
Peter
game?
Stormare plays.
I might have to play this game, bro.
I promise you don't. In like the first 30 seconds of this video game, there is a line that I will never forget, and it's Simpson, aka James McAvoy, talking to the player, breaking the fourth wall about playing this video game, and he calls the player a fat pussy gamer loser.
Dear Lord. What?
I got called before even doing anything in this alleged video game a fat pussy gamer loser, and I've never been more called out, sniper shotted in my life.
Amazing.
So that's kind of the whole tone. He's like trying to do a Deadpool thing. It's very bad. Yeah. It's very, very bad. But it's Dude, also only like 2.5 hours long, so it's very like suffer throughable. It's crazy. I highly encourage. Also, so there was a PlayStation 3 version and there was a different PC version where the ending is slightly different. And I was playing, my buddy Cody was watching, as per the usual. And so I played on PS3 because I bought a physical copy of this video game for like $5 because I didn't know it existed. And I found it existed and I had to have it. So I played on PS3. And at the end, he just kind of like kills the bad guy, makes like a snarky quip or whatever, so on and so on. Then Cody's like, hey, dude, so apparently the PC version has a slightly different ending. And in my head, I'm like, oh, what is he, like, fucking pee on the guy? He pees on him at the end in the PC version. Instead of shooting him in the head, he shoots next to his head into the floor and then pees on him.
That is crazy.
I so wish I had said it out loud so that there would be proof that I called it beforehand as a joke.
Yeah.
But like that's the kind of thing that's what we're working with here with this video game is that kind of caliber.
I mean, that all sounds good to me, man.
Except for the fact where it's literally just 2.5 hours of a horrible, horrible cover shooter.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will say the bullet curve, because the movie Wanted, for those who are uninitiated, uncultured swine, the movie Wanted, they can like flick their wrist or do some bullshit that lets them curve bullets in the air and control the curve of the bullet to like shoot around stuff. And so that's a big mechanic in this, is curving the bullet. And I will say their solution to that is kind of fine, which is, and it's not glowing praise, but for a game that looks and sounds the way this does and is written the way it is pretty glowing praise. You just like hold a button and a little arc shows up. It's red if it's not going to hit him. It's white if it's going to hit him. And you release the button and it fires and it gets him. And it's like a pretty simple, satisfying solution to that problem.
Love it.
That's the best thing I have to say about that game. Other than fat pussy gamer loser.
That's. I mean, they just get us. You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's like they were looking in my window.
For fans of the movie, you'll be pleased to know that Terrence Stamp and Common reprised their roles from the film. And also this game has motherfucking Tom Kane in it, bro.
It does. Yes, it does.
He's a voice acting legend.
And March of the Penguins.
The game has what's his face in it?
Yeah, because he's in the movie.
Yes.
Shit. Fucking what?
Morgan
Freeman. Thank you. Good lord.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman has like 3 lines in it. Because I guess he's in the movie.
That's
awesome. Which turns out,
it sounds bad.
It's like Morgan Freeman's like second video game credit, because he also reprised his role as Fox in Batman Begins. In that video game, he was the voice. So,
well, you got to go watch the movie now.
That's right,
and compare.
Not tonight though. I have one more classic games update. Then I promise I'll stop. As people know, I am playing all of the 3D Sonic video games.
For reasons.
Because I hate myself. All right, where am I at with this? Oh no, I don't have it pulled up. I normally have my text file pulled up. Okay. I don't remember the last time I checked in, but so far I have played and beaten Sonic 3D Blast on the Genesis, Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. For Sonic Heroes, I beat the first campaign. There are like 3 campaigns. They're all the same levels, and all the characters have the same archetypes, so it plays the same. So I didn't play the extra campaigns. I beat Shadow the Hedgehog on Xbox. Sorry, Sonic Heroes was on Xbox as well. Original Xbox. Shadow the Hedgehog on Xbox. Sonic 06 on the Xbox 360. I beat Sonic's campaign and just couldn't bring myself to play any more of it, so I moved on. And then I played Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii. I made it to the final boss, and I tried the final boss so many times, and it's so bad I couldn't beat him, and so I stopped playing. I gave up. I basically beat Sonic and the Secret Rings. I have an asterisk. I have an asterisk next to the ones that I have not actually beaten. So
that you can go back to them someday.
Right. And my reward,
hate yourself all over again.
My like halfway point reward was supposed to be, because see, I'm only done with like half of these fucking Sonic games. It was supposed to be this like Obsidian turn-based Sonic RPG on the DS, Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood. I was like, hey, maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's it. It's not. I don't know.
Because it's a Sonic game.
I don't know who at Obsidian made this. But I hope they no longer work at Obsidian. I hope they no longer work in games. Period. You control it with the stylus only. It's like click to move, but with the DS stylus only. And the actual writing and the graphics, I felt like I was playing a bad E-Bombs World like Flash game, is what it felt like. It was literally that bad of an experience. Maybe not E-Bombs World. Newgrounds. There we go. A bad Newgrounds Flash game is what it felt like.
Yikes.
It was so incredibly bad.
What is this? What is that one called?
Sonic Brotherhood, or Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood. Sanguine, my brother. As a little Oblivion Thieves or Assassin's Guild joke for all y'all. Dude, it's so bad. So that was supposed to be my reward.
Yeah, didn't turn out that way.
So I'm taking a little break because I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
I still have to play.
You should stop doing that.
I can't. I still have to play.
You should stop playing bad video games for no reason.
Shay, I bought them. I own them. I have to play them. I still have to play Sonic Unleashed, Sonic the Black Knight, and Sonic Colors on Wii, Sonic Generations on Xbox One, Sonic the Lost World, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on the Wii U. Those are Sonic Lost World and Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on the Wii U, 2 Wii U games. Sonic Forces on the Xbox One, Sonic Frontiers on the Xbox One, and then the actual treat that I think I will enjoy is the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog on Steam, which is that like April Fool's joke game they made on Steam. And then finally the most recent video game, Shadow Generations on the Xbox One.
And then you had to play Balan Wonderworld.
No, that is not a 3D Sonic game. That is its own thing. Absolutely not.
Spiritual successor, right?
By that coin, I would have to also play like Penny's Breakaway and shit. And I'm just not. I'm not. So here's the other problem. So Cody, like the Blood Pact was Cody had to play all the Batman games. Yep. Cody, like half of those Batman games are awful tripe. The other half of them are pretty good to great. Like the Arkham games are great.
Yeah, many of them are more than pretty good.
Yeah. I said it's a pretty good to great. But it's now we're in this weird limbo, right? Where like, if there's a new Batman game, does Cody have to play that? If there's a new Sonic game, do I have to play that? Like, does this go on in perpetuity? I
would
don't
argue
know.
At a minimum, Cody has to play Suicide Squad.
See, he started Suicide Squad, and it was not fun bad and not good. It was in that middle ground of like, I don't even want to watch Cody play it. So why?
Because you'll have an aneurysm.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, I'm not getting enjoyment out of watching him play the middest game that ever midded. And so it's just kind of like, what's the point, you know? If it's not really bad or really good, what's the point? What are we doing here is the question. And the answer is I don't know, and it's bad. So that's how I'm doing with my Sonic games. I'm almost halfway through them. But the thing that was supposed to give me solace actually shocked me into submission.
That's a bummer, man.
So I'm taking a short break.
You're gonna have to do a tier list when you're all done with that.
Hey, guess what? I have a running tier list. Shadow the Hedgehog is the highest rated at a C. Everything else,
love it.
Everything else is an F. Or I had to make a new category when Sonic 06. I played that. That category is Kill Yourself. And so that's where Sonic 06 and Sonic and the Secret Rings are living currently.
I'm sure that tier list will be very popular with Sonic fans.
Yeah,
we will not be posting in Party Select. Also, I do not want to attract the Sonic freaks.
Also, I have a tier called Kill Yourself. I don't want to post that anywhere.
That's also true.
I can rename the tier. That's just this. This is a tier list for me, and that's how I feel about those. If I'm being honest with myself, I wouldn't like put that in front of someone and make them feel bad. So, that's where we're at.
Well, all right. We want to talk some anticipated games. We wanted to do this in January, obviously. Yeah. We didn't because we didn't do a podcast, but we've got time. So we have a very long list. We're not going to talk about this very long list, Kyle, because this is a very long list.
Yeah,
we're already an hour in.
If we can
just pick a couple.
Well, no, I think we should go through all the things so like people at home, like 'cause there's a lot of stuff on here people aren't going to remember exists, and so I think we should at least go through them. Give the like very very short description on what it is, just as like a brain tease reminder, a little brain resuscitation for folks to remember that these things exist. That's all we have to really say about them, I think. All
right, we'll get us started then.
So that's Assassin's Creed. This is alphabetical, by the way. Assassin's Creed Shadows, which now releases on March 20th. I don't need to say anything else about that. It looks like a good Assassin's Creed game, I hope.
There's definitely been mixed things in the preview coverage.
Yeah.
But the consensus seems to be that the ninja character is awesome, and the samurai character is maybe less awesome and shouldn't be in the game, not for the annoying culture war reasons, but just because it's not super fun to play a big hulking guy who can't climb stuff in an Assassin's Creed game. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm still generally interested, but knowing that Ghost of Yotei is coming out makes me significantly less interested.
Right. Then we have Atomfall, which is coming out March 27th. This is coming to Game Pass, if folks have Game Pass. This is a sort of, I'm going to call it like an Outer Worlds scope, BioShock-like, Fallout 3-like RPG.
Hopefully more BioShock, less Atomic Heart.
Yes, hopefully. But yeah. And I think that's my read on it, because they have recently sent out a gameplay reveal. There's a long kind of gameplay reveal video on the internet now that folks can go check out for Atomfall. And I think it looks really interesting. I think that video speaks for itself. Like, if you've played those kinds of games, you'll recognize the DNA immediately. I think that one has potential to be pretty good, if not great.
Yeah.
And then Avowed,
talented studio, but the Sniper Elite games, very different kind of games. So it's like, can they translate? We'll just have to see.
Right. And then in similar vein, Avowed, right? They same scope. I would think, but kind of Obsidian's take on a Skyrim-like fantasy world. So that's coming out February 18th. I'm super excited.
It's Skyrim with better writing and Garrus Vicarian.
And less bloat.
Sign me the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just coming out in a couple of weeks here, February 18th, and that will also be on Game Pass.
Next is Citizen Sleeper 2, which is actually out by the time y'all are listening to this. I will have started playing this by the time y'all are listening to this, because I have been very highly anticipating it. It is also on Game Pass. This is a sequel to one of my favorite games when it came out. I think it was like 2021 maybe. It's sort of a visual novel, dice rolly kind of narrative game. A lot of text-based decision-making, very dark sci-fi story. Super cool. I never in a million years would have assumed we would get a sequel, given how the story I have no idea what this game is. Like, no idea what the setup is, because I don't need to know. All I know is I want to play it. So yeah, I think the first game is also on Game Pass.
Yeah,
so
I think they're both on.
Totally recommend seeking that out. I would assume you should play the first one before playing the second one.
Yes, probably. Right? Probably.
I mean, maybe not. I have no idea, but I would just assume that.
Right. Next is Cozy Dungeons. This is TBD this year, but it's an indie game, and it's going to just be on PC, on like Steam. And it's just like, think like Animal Crossing, but for dungeons, where you're going in and decorating the dungeons and kind of setting up their layout and interacting with like fun, cute characters, and kind of like, I think, kind of running a business out of the dungeon, like adventures coming through and paying you to participate and making like fun dungeons for them to go through. Not like, vicious trap related stuff, but like fun, cutesy style. Cozy Dungeons. Then Croc, Legend of the Gobbos Remastered. Leaving space for raucous applause. That comes out in April. No solid date on that yet in April. Or there might be, but I have the collector's edition pre-ordered from the creator's website that comes with the cute little Croc statue. That delivery date is TBD April, so I actually don't know if the game itself has a specific date in April in mind, but that is coming in April.
And who's doing that one?
That's a good question.
On Google, it just says Argonaut Games, which I think was the developer of
this is the original developer. Are they?
I was just curious if it's like...
Yeah, I think it's the same studio. So, I don't know what they've been doing in the meantime, personally. But yeah, it's the same studio, which is great.
Cool.
Do you know this next one?
No.
Okay. You will when I describe it. So Chronos: The New Dawn. This is TBD this year as well. Don't know when it's coming out. Could get pushed, but currently says 2025. This is that BioShock Infinite like steampunky game.
No.
You don't remember this?
No, it is.
Or is it?
You are incorrect.
Oh,
it is not that game.
I thought
Chronos the New Dawn is the new Bloober Team. Dead Space.
Oh, you're right. Yes. What is that other one that I was thinking of then?
Clockwork Revolution.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
We have not seen hide nor tail of that game since they announced it like 3 years ago.
Right.
It does not exist.
Maybe not. Okay, yeah. Chronos the New Dawn is the new like diegetic UI Dead Space-like game from Bloober Team. Like coming off of the Silent Hill 2 remake, I have tentatively positive expectations for this. Seeing what they were able to do with that remake of Silent Hill 2. So we'll see if that's any good. Or I would be surprised if this came out this year. But who knows? Maybe they were working on it. I mean, they would have to have been working on it simultaneously. But I don't know what kind of size team they have to be able to make that happen. But yeah, that's Chronos New Dawn.
Next is Doom the Dark Ages, which we just got a release date in the recent Microsoft Dev Direct thing, coming out May 15th. I was always going to be excited about this, even though like I liked Doom Eternal a lot, but it was kind of like I think I'm good on this type of formula. And then they announced this game, and I was like, okay, Viking shit, I'm all the way back in. And then they said, oh, also, we're changing the way this game feels. It's a little bit slower, you're heavier, there's more diversity in how you engage with the game. You pilot a big mech, you ride a dragon. And I was like, okay, I literally can't be more in than I already am, and you're still making me be more in. So yeah, this is like one of my most anticipated games of the year for sure. There's a gun that shoots bones. Mm-hmm. You have a shield that you throw, Captain America style, except it's got fucking chains and blades
like fucking
on
Rygar,
it.
Dude.
Like, yeah, man. I don't know what else I need to say about Doom the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
You guys are all gonna play this.
Yeah, I was not all in until I saw there was a settings screen that said, oh, you can dial back the speed of the game. I was like, okay, now we're fucking talking. So because I'm much more methodical.
And it isn't just a slider. Like they intentionally in the develop, like they want it to feel slower, and it's not like a huge shift, right? Like it's not like you're this big, clumbering whatever. It still is going to be a fast-paced first-person shooter in the grand scheme of things, but it's not going to be like Unreal Tournament style the way the two previous games were.
Right. Expedition 33 Clair Obscure comes April 24th. I have really high hopes for this game. I think it showed incredibly well at that Xbox event. There's even a cool overworld thing a la Dynasty Warriors Origins. Just seems like a lot of fun, interesting, quirky characters. This is all I've ever wanted since Final Fantasy X came out. This is all I've wanted. And they're finally giving it to me. Go figure, it's from the French. Thanks, French.
I refuse to get my hopes up for this game just because it's a AA game. It's the studio's first game. That doesn't usually work out. Not that those games are usually bad, but it doesn't usually break through to being so incredible, right? So I'm trying to temper.
Right.
But everything they showed in that Dev Direct was speaking my language.
Yeah.
It definitely made me more excited and built confidence that it might exceed my expectations.
Right.
So yeah, I'm hyped for it also.
Cool. Next is FBC Firebreak. That's the new Remedy game. They said it would be 2025. This is that co-op shooter set in the Control, the oldest house in the Control building. And looks like kind of similar to how Abiotic Factor is this Half-Life facility inspired area where everything's put together with office parts and stuff. This also feels like it has vibes of that, where your weapons are kind of cobbled together from equipment that's in the oldest house. That one, I don't know. Remedy's never made a game like that, but it could be super interesting, and I think it looks like it has a fun seeing how they're able to handle different kinds of tones in the writing in the Alan Wake 2 DLC. I'm like, oh, these people are just really fucking good at whatever they put their minds to in terms of writing and evoking types of feelings and emotions and styles, that I guarantee you that part of the game will be spot on. How it's going to be as a video game, I don't really know. Because we also haven't seen
Can
much.
they do a live service game?
Right.
That's a much tougher question.
Yeah. But tentatively excited for that one, even if it's just hey, playing this in the fringes, I get a little bit more control lore. Isn't that cool?
Sure.
So yeah, FBC Firebreak.
That's gonna be on Game Pass also.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be playing.
Right.
Ghost of Yotai. I mentioned this. Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time. Certainly one of my favorite games of the last 5+ years. I don't need to know anything else about this game. I'm going to play it, and it's going to be extremely good. I don't know that it's going to be better than Ghost of Tsushima. I don't really care about that, but I know it's going to be fucking good.
New Infamous when, dude? Enough of this Ghost of crap. Give me a new Infamous.
Ghost of Infamous. Ghost of Second Son.
Whoa.
I really liked Infamous Second Son. I feel like that game is kind of underrated. It was a PS4 launch game. I feel like people were kind of like, about it. I thought it was fucking good. Yeah. More than just awesome particle effects, which the game did have very good particle effects.
For sure.
I also put Hades 2 1.0 on this list, as I kind of talked about when you were talking about Sulfur. Like, I'm waiting to play this game until it hits 1.0. I'm hoping that happens this year. I would assume that it will. The game is, like, pretty much done, other than some, like, filler stuff, and I guess, like, some of the story stuff they still had to figure out. But everything I've seen from Hades 2, everything I've seen from people who have been playing Hades 2 is... It seems like that's what I want. It seems like this game is going to be fun. It's like, yes, dude, I'm going to enjoy Hades 2, my game of the year from 2021. Like the preceding game was. Pretty easy bet.
Yeah.
Also, probably a pretty easy bet is this next one.
Yeah, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. It's a new Naughty Dog game. When this was revealed, it had a 2025 date on it. I was suspicious of that. However, I know Druckmann has said that he has not wanted to do super long marketing cycles on his games anymore because of the community being the way that it is. It could be 2025. It's also like Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020, so it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So it could come out this year. If not late this year, then I could see early next year. But Intergalactic Heretic Prophet looks really interesting. I know we're going to see more of it at Summer Games Fest. They haven't announced it, but fucking obviously. I'm really interested to see what they're doing with the melee combat that they teased at the end of that trailer.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to see a little more action-y stuff from them compared to like what we got in The Last of Us, which was pretty like methodical. I don't love the name of this game.
Yeah, it's a bad name.
They should have just called it Intergalactic, because that's a sick name.
Great name.
Great font work. But yeah, I guess I say like it's an easy yes for me, which it is.
Yeah.
But I do have a little bit of trepidation from like a storytelling perspective, because I don't know that their games have always hit. Like even Uncharted 4, I thought was pretty long in the tooth for what it necessarily needed to be.
Sure.
So I have some concerns about that, but like they're unarguably one of the most talented, successful studios in the industry. It's probably going to be a good video game.
Yeah.
It is. I am interested, like, and we don't know and probably won't ever know, with their like canceled Last of Us live service game that they had been working on. I wonder if that team just pivoted to supporting Intergalactic, or if they are working on something else now.
Yeah.
To your point on like, does it make it this year? It's possible they just got a bunch of reinforcements of people that are no longer working on that live service game. So
that's true.
Time will tell. Next is Judas, which I know you and I are both. I have similar like trepidation about this, just because I kind of wonder like, does Ken Levine still have it? But everything I've seen from the game sounds cool. It sounds like good innovation on his kind of shtick, with some of the procedurally generated elements, some of the like roguelike elements, but still his like wacky sci-fi mindfuck storytelling, which he, I wouldn't assume that part of his skill set would fall off. It's more like, does the gameplay innovation, does it feel modern, or does it feel like BioShock Infinite came out over 10 years ago? So it's kind of hard to know until we actually play it. Like, does he still have it from a game design perspective?
Right. And that was dated, like the latest on that was dated Q2 of this year, specifically March as the latest. if we
No
haven't
way.
heard or seen anything about this, and it's a month
potentially
from coming out.
They did preview coverage, I think, at Summer Game Fest last year, because some folks that I follow got their hands on it, like Scale Up and Jake Baldino. But yeah, they haven't really talked about it since then.
You know, they haven't been in any of the like PlayStation or Xbox Direct stuff. They have not.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think, if it doesn't come out in March, it's not coming out until after Summer Game Fest, because it will be there, and then maybe it drops during Summer Game Fest or something.
Maybe. Or maybe it drops next year.
Also that. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This is coming out shortly after this podcast releases on February 4th. Tentatively excited for this one. There were some issues socially around the first game, and their fervent desire to not include people of color in their world, citing historical accuracy, which was not actually true. It seems like they have completely reversed course on that for this one. You know, they're including folks from all over. The writing seems like it's really good. The cutscene stuff, like all the preview coverage that I've seen of it, all the little development documentary stuff. I mean, it's all done in-house, but it looks really, really good. I am tentatively excited for this one. I will be playing it, next week when it arrives at my house. Be playing it on PS5, and I will report back on that during the flagship episode of the Party Select podcast.
We're gonna have a lot for that episode, bro.
It's gonna be
Citizen Sleeper, Avowed,
heavy one.
Yeah, there's already a lot of stuff coming out.
For sure.
It's exciting.
Mafia: The Old Country is also slated for this year, Q3, it says. So, I don't know, probably mid to late summer. Don't have a specific date on that, but it's the latest in the Mafia games. I think it said it's not an open world game this time. It's more of a structured story-based experience, which sounds great to me. I do not need like a B-tier GTA clone. Not that that's necessarily what the Mafia games were. They were always a little more limited in scope than that, but sure. I don't need that extra fluff, right? If they're going to tell like a compelling Mafia story, I would prefer that to be the focus with some like fun action gameplay. So maybe excited for that one. I'm at least interested.
I've never played any of the Mafia games. I own several of them. Yeah. I think, was it the third one they did a remaster of? And I got that through PlayStation Plus or whatever it is. I just have never gone and played any of them. This one appeals to me far more, primarily because of like the uniqueness of the time period and the setting. That just, it seems like a much cooler story than yet another, dude, you're a mobster in whatever time period.
Right.
It's the uniqueness speaks to me. So I'm looking forward to that also. Hopefully it doesn't come out within 6 months on either side of GTA 6, or it will get lost forever.
Hey, I'll play it while everyone else is playing GTA 6. I'll be the one guy.
I have Mario Kart 9 on here. I'm assuming it's going to be called Mario Kart 9.
Probably.
That's the next number of Mario Kart. This was tacitly revealed in Nintendo Switch 2 trailer that they kind of farted out a few weeks ago. It was the only game they actually showed, and it's very clearly a new Mario Kart game. So we're all assuming it's going to launch with the Switch 2, which we're also assuming is going to launch this year. So that's probably a safe bet, and a game that I normally would be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But we still play tons of Mario Kart 8 with my kids. You and your partner got my daughter a new like mini Switch controller. It's not mini, but it is like it's like 30% smaller, specifically so that she could play Mario Kart when we play it. So I guess I will have to convince my wife to get a Nintendo Switch too, so that we can play Mario Kart 9.
Yeah.
I also have Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra. This is the Amy Hennig game.
Yeah.
That takes place during World War II with, I think it's T'Chaka, or it's T'Challa's dad as Black Panther and Steve Rogers legit as Captain America back in the 40s. This looks like it's more of a narrative-oriented game. Yeah. We haven't seen a ton of it other than more like sort of story character cutscenes. Yeah,
like I'm wondering if it's like a Guardians of the Galaxy scope structure game.
Yeah, it could be. Like I would assume it's going to be in the Uncharted vein, where it's more narrative, more straightforward, but you get to play as 2 different characters. Probably will have some crossover, but I doubt it's going to be like you get to choose which one you play. It's probably like specific story moments, just knowing how Amy Hennig likes to write and make games. Yeah. But I still have a ton of faith in her as a writer of games.
It would be great if one of her games could get made one of these
actually
days,
released. Huh? Yeah,
it would be great.
I agree.
Poor Amy.
And also, we haven't seen anything from this game in a while, so that fear is also starting to bubble up
big time.
But yeah, they revealed it. I don't remember if it was in 2024 or if it was in 2023, but they revealed it a good amount ago. So if it's coming out, hopefully it's this year.
Metroid Prime 4. That gameplay reveal was really good when they showed that a while ago.
Yeah.
I hope that's a launch game for Switch 2.
Yes. I agree. I would assume it is. It's been quite a while. Even with their like reboot of the team working on it and changing hands, it's still been a while.
I am nervous about that one. But I mean, suppose like because Nintendo's thing is right, they're not going to put out a product that they're not satisfied with, and that's why they keep pushing it and reworking it and blah blah blah. And so like I do have faith that when it comes out, it will be good. Will it be great? I don't know. Metal Gear Solid Delta is also this year. That's the remake of Snake Eater. Dan Reichert got to go and get hands-on and play it, and he is, the person that I look to first and foremost for all things Metal Gear.
I hear he likes Metal Gear.
I tend to think about Metal Gear the way that he thinks about Metal Gear, so I go to his opinions on it when it is relevant. And he thought it was really incredible and was really high on it, so I am also very excited because that is a banger-ass video game. That is one of the first that's one of the only games when it came out I got it on like a Friday and I just stayed up and played it on our living room TV at our old house in Ohio. And I don't know that I went to bed. I think I just stayed up and played it until I beat it. And I think that's one of the few times I've ever done that. It so captured my heart and my attention and solidified my love of that series more concretely. Because up to that point, I hadn't played 2 before I played 3. I had watched your friend in that same neighborhood play the first Metal Gear on PS1, and so I'd been able to tinker around a little bit with that at his house. But 3 was the first one that I played myself, and then just absolutely fell in love with it because it's a fucking awesome game. So that, but pretty with some quality of life improvements, I'm all about it. Mouse PI for Hire, that is supposed to hit 1.0 this year. It's is it, how much of that is on Steam right now? Mouse PI for Hire. Okay, I guess they don't have any of it out currently. I think it's all just going to release when it releases. I think they were doing some play testing, is what I had heard, for Mouse PI for Hire. But that's supposed to come out this year. This is a first-person shooter, but the art is like old-school Mickey Mouse cartoon, very noir-inspired. It's all black and white.
Public domain.
Yes, public domain. It's all black and white. The guns are wacky. They animate. The sound is incredible. I highly, highly encourage people to look up this game in motion, because it looks great in screenshots, but in motion it looks just incredible. The grainy filter they put on stuff. It's it's 3D environments, but with these beautifully animated 2D character sprites kind of moving through those environments. It's one of those games, but it looks so good. I would hold it up to the standard of God, what was that 2D platformer? Cuphead. I would hold it up to the standard of Cuphead because it's aping from a similar era of cartoon, slightly before Cuphead's era, when it was just black and white. But I think it pulls off the animation stuff just as well as Cuphead did. That looks super, super good. So that's TBD for this year.
Also TBD, unfortunately, is Skate Story.
Right.
We talked about this game in our superlatives as one of my best delayed games from 2024. Right. This was part of the Devolver Digital delay showcase, which is very funny. Assumedly, it's coming out this year. It looks pretty done. One of my YouTube guys that I like, Skill Up, did a preview of it several months ago, and just recently, like, he wasn't gonna make a video about it when it was delayed. He's like, let me go ahead and put this content out there. And he was really blown away both by the simplicity of the skateboarding in it, because it's not really like a Tony Hawk. It's more straightforward than that, but it's more about the vibes and the atmosphere and the story. You effectively are doing skate tricks so that you can kill the moon, who is like this demon god of the purgatory that you're in.
God, I hate the moon.
Sounds pretty fucking cool to me. So yeah, it also has an unbelievably cool visual aesthetic. It's very polygonal and sort of like shiny glass visual aesthetic to it. It's one of my most anticipated games for show, but no new release date as of yet.
South of Midnight is coming out April 8th. Also coming to Game Pass. This is that Southern folklore inspired third-person action adventure game where the characters animate in sort of a lower frame rate than the rest of the game is rendered, and so it gives it kind of a stop motion look. I think the game looks incredible. The music is wonderful, and I really enjoy the thought that I'm going to get to explore, kind of their take on some of that folklore, because that is an area of the world that is not often explored in games. So to get another take on that, I think is not only important, but also like super, super interesting. South of Midnight, I think what they've shown of that looks pretty solid to me, like relatively straightforward in terms of what action games have been doing for a long time, but their take on it is at least really interesting. And like the theming around the systems that might be more boilerplate, I think is really good. And so I'm looking forward to that experience a lot.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Kenna Bridge of Spirits in the way that it was shown, which was, a relatively straightforward from an exploration combat, but really like cool and unique from a storytelling perspective. And South of Midnight is like way more unique in terms of setting and aesthetic. So it's got a lot of that going for it.
And much more sophisticated in its systems that it's trying to execute on as well, versus Kenna Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah, I mean, the combat seems pretty simple and straightforward, but yes, there's some platforming and stuff and like some sort of like Breath of the Wild style powers that you have to manipulate objects in the world, which, that all of that is definitely different.
For sure. Subnautica 2 is TBD 2025. That's the follow-up to the first two Subnautica games. There's actually Subnautica Below Zero was a mini second game that came out after the first game. This is a proper numbered sequel. It's that underwater survival game with like aquatic life where you're building your bases underwater and collecting resources, and there is a narrative. You can actually beat the game. It seems like this one will follow that kind of same template. So that's exciting. I super, super like Subnautica. I have that. I don't know what it's called, but I have that phobia of deep sea areas, the darkness, and that game terrified me a lot more than many other actual horror games did, purely because of that.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, like, I would love to play Subnautica, but I know that I can't because of that. I just know that it would be miserable for me.
Maybe we could play it co-op, and then you'd be okay.
Probably not. Okay, but maybe.
Tales of the Shire is coming out March 25th is the date for that one. Unfortunately, no physical release, which is a bummer. I think it's going to be digital only. But this is a game being made in collaboration with Weta. It's Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Animal Crossing that has a big focus on food, kind of running around the town, the relationships between the hobbits, and kind of putting on festivals and stuff. And it's just a cute, cozy game with kind of like painted-looking graphics that maybe don't look all that good, but we'll see. We'll see how it looks when it comes out. But that's Tales of the Shire.
Yeah, I mean, the preview coverage has been kind of mixed on that, but it's a cozy game starring hobbits, so I don't really give a shit. Like, I'm going to play it, so whatever.
Right.
It might not be awesome, but it's cozy game with hobbits, so yes. The Altars, which is another game I talked about on the Best Delayed game. This is sort of a, I don't even know how to describe this game. It's sort of like a town management, but your town is like a single sort of installation on a moon or another planet, and all of the people that live inside that installation are clones of you, and they all have like different personalities, and you're sort of managing those relationships and all that good stuff. And there's definitely something weird going on, which is sort of the greater mystery. But I think the conceit of that one is really cool. So excited to check that out.
Yeah, the initial announcement trailer like really grabbed me, and it did its job, right? Because I remember it years later after the announcement. So
Outer Worlds 2.
Hell yeah.
I'm not totally convinced this will come out this year, given that Avowed is coming out. It'd be pretty crazy to have Obsidian release 2 RPGs.
In 1 year would be a lot, but I guess separate
fiscal
years.
But they did announce it. Yeah, I mean, they did announce it, and they said that it was coming out in 2025, but you're right. It could be fiscal year 25. Maybe this one comes out next February. Right. I loved the first one. I think that it fits into that, like... It's a game that I really enjoyed that I didn't really think about once I was done with it, which is fine. Like, that's not a negative. It's just, it's not Fallout 3, right? It's not Fallout New Vegas, which is probably a better comparison, same studio. Right. But it's a much smaller scale. It's just a really fun video game, really well written, good world, good characters, good systems, great sense of humor. But, like, it's not going to be game of the year, which is fine. Yeah. And that's my expectation for Avowed. Also, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll blow me away. But that doesn't like hamper my excitement for Outer Worlds 2 at all. I just know that I'm not expecting it to be a new Fallout game, which is fine. And then lastly, Winter Burrow. So this is sort of a survival game, but you play as like a little mousy guy.
It's like a Redwall.
It's got a really... Yeah, the visuals remind me a lot of Redwall. It doesn't seem to have the same... dark tone or an as dark a tone as Redwall, certainly not as much of the fantasy aesthetic to it, but yeah, you play as a cute little mouse in the winter doing survival game stuff. Seems pretty cute to me.
Yeah. Hey, if people like Redwall and like read those books as kids, like with the anthropomorphic animals and the abbeys and all that stuff, 2 comic series you should check out. Mice Templar, that is like a darker kind of take on the like Redwall formula. That's a lot more adult. Like there's a lot of killing and death and like harder core stuff, more adult themes in it and all that. But it's fucking rad and it goes places. And the art is really good. So Mice Templar, and the second one is Mouse Guard. The art in Mouse Guard is like every single panel is like one of the most beautiful, fully realized renders of the little drawings you would have at the beginning of chapters of Redwall books. It's just the most beautiful artwork, and some really cute little stories that are, they're not always the happiest thing. There's a lot of bittersweet in there, but Mouse Guard is very, very good. It's like, it's a series that I go back to just like flip through and look at the art sometimes just because of how pretty it is. So just a little shout out there for fun.
Nice. Well, that is a very exhaustive list of the games we're looking forward to in 2025. I'm sure there are others that we forgot. I'm sure there are others that you all are looking forward to. I will say, if all of these games come out in 2025, this will be a pretty good fucking year for video games.
That'll be
like
huge.
this is like 30 games.
Yeah.
Just of games we already know exist that we're really excited about. There are always at least a dozen games that come out that we didn't know existed until the year they came out.
Yeah.
Animal Well is a great example of that.
Right.
So yeah, 2025 should be, could be, hopefully is going to be a very excellent year in video games.
Yeah.
If you have games that we didn't mention that you would like to tell us about and make sure we didn't forget, you can send us an email. Here's how the emails are going to work.
Yep.
We have a new email address for Party Select. It is partyselectpod@gmail.com. That's partyselectpod@gmail.com. If you send me an email to info@sheahateseverything.com, I'm still going to read it, dude. It's not a big deal. I'm still going to check that email address. If you mess it up and send it to the old one, it doesn't matter. Just know that it's going to be on Party Select podcasts from now on.
Yeah.
But yes, send to the new email address also so that you get it ingrained in your brain. But yeah, send us an email for games that you're looking forward to. Would love to hear from you all. we did get a couple of emails over the last 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
First, from our friend Aaron, who does not, he qualifies very quickly that this is not a question, it's a rant. So everybody put on your rant earmuffs.
All right, buckle up.
The subject line of this email is Call of Duty rant. Straight to the point. Hey guys, this isn't a question, but a rant about the most frustrating gaming situation I've had in a long time, and it's partially your fault.
Oh no.
The Call of Duty experience. Allow me to take you on a journey.
I already know what this journey is going to be about.
Because you read the email, yeah.
Well, you know. But also, I know exactly what he was going to talk about before he even read the email.
Yeah,
because it sucks.
My wife and I used to play split-screen zombies together back in the day. I haven't played a COD or any online multiplayer game since the Modern Warfare reboot on PS4. After hearing that the campaign for Black Ops 6 was really good, we decided to pick it up specifically for the campaign and split-screen zombies. Here was my experience. Picked up a copy at Walmart, popped it in the PS5 to let it install the campaign and download the stupid COD launcher. Ugh. 3 hours later, after we put the kids to bed, we booted up to play the campaign. Except it didn't even install the campaign.
Nope.
You have to select install in the launcher.
Yep.
I figured it would at least install the campaign from the disc.
Bro,
so I figure I'll play some solo zombies while we wait.
There's nothing on the discs anymore. The
Correct.
discs are an authenticator to download the launcher so that you can then download the content with the launcher. It's fucked up.
It's an amazing... We live in amazing times.
No, we
Technology has never been better. Everything is great. So I'll figure I'll play some solo zombies while we wait. But oh no! You can't play solo zombies offline without PlayStation Plus. Okay, I guess I'll resubscribe. After playing a solo round each, we decided to do the local split screen. Only to discover that not only do you need PlayStation Plus to play split screen locally, but you actually need 2 different users with separate paid PlayStation Plus and Activision accounts. 2 PlayStation Plus subscriptions just to play local split screen zombies with someone sitting right next to you? Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. Get fucked, Activision! Exclamation mark. I hate the online gaming landscape, but I did play through the campaign, and it was super solid, so thanks for this experience, my dudes. Keep on keeping on, Aaron. Aaron, thank you for the email. Thank you for the rant. It was very funny to read in my head and also out loud. I appreciate your punctuation. I'm Aaron, I'm not going to lie. When I read this email, my first response was, I don't want to be rude to Aaron, but there's no way this is what happened.
Dude, it is.
It has to be user error, which, Aaron, I would not blame you for. I launched this game, right? I had the same experience as you where I installed the game. I had it installing during the day while I was hanging out with my kids, knowing that I was going to start it at night. I came back to it, only discover, hey, the launcher's here, but I can't play the fucking campaign. I have to download that separately. That absolutely did happen to me. But the idea that you need 2 separate PlayStation Plus accounts to play local split screen, I was like, this has got to be just a misread of something.
Dude.
But it's fucking true.
Yeah.
You need 2 separate paid accounts to play. You only have to buy 1 copy of the game.
It is,
but you have to have 2 PlayStation accounts. That is wild.
It is so far beyond the realm of acceptability. It is fucking crazy, dude. Unacceptable.
So yeah. That's bad, and I'm very sorry that you had that experience, Aaron.
Yeah.
I am glad that you liked the campaign, though.
Which, to be fair, you and I never said anything about playing the zombies.
That's true.
We said go play the campaign, so we are not liable for your expenditures on PlayStation Plus. Do not sue us for this.
Send any complaints to info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
We promise we'll check that one.
We'll no longer be checking that email address. Yeah. Thank you for the email, Aaron, and for all the emails you've written to Shea Hates Everything over the years. Guess what? You can still send us emails. I have a weird thing about, like, this isn't the end of an era. This isn't, like, the end of a thing that we're doing. It technically is, but we're just doing it slightly different with a different name, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Like, I have no nostalgia for Shea Hates Everything. It's just, I'm in a weird way with the branding around this. All right. Final email from another longtime emailer, Connor. Subject line: I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Ugh.
Howdy. What are your thoughts on jumping into a series with a prequel? This is relevant now because Dragon Quest III just came out, but it's a prequel and most fans recommend starting there. Yakuza 0, personally, I find a good starting point for the series, which also happens to be a prequel. Do you have some good and bad, Star Wars, examples where jumping into the prequel is a good starting point? I think what is interesting with the examples that Connor listed here with Dragon Quest 3 and Yakuza 0 is that like those games are intended as prequels. Like they're not. What am I trying to say here? Like it's just the ordering is weird in the numbers, right? Like Dragon Quest 3 is the third Dragon Quest game, but it's the first game in the series, which is different than Star Wars, which when Star Wars released, it released with Episode 4. You always knew there was other story that came before. And Yakuza 0 is kind of that case also, where there have been a million Yakuza games, now Like a Dragon, and then they said, let's make a prequel, Episode 0. I've not played any of those games, so I'll take Connor's word for it that Yakuza 0 is a good place to start. But yeah, that's a weird thing.
I don't know that your logic right there was consistent.
Why?
Because you said the Star Wars thing, they started on Episode 4, and then they went back and did 1, 2, 3. Yakuza, they started with 1, right? They didn't have an intention to also have a 0. They just like made it a 0 later so that it was a prequel. Dragon Quest 3 could have been called Dragon Quest 0. Yeah.
Yes, that is fair. I guess what I'm saying is like calling it Dragon Quest 3 is a misnomer. Was what kind of my point. Like that's what makes that one confusing.
I see. Okay,
is that it is number 3.
Got it. Okay.
But I think you're right. I think I did say they're similar in that way, and I meant to say that they're not similar in that way.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's hard to talk about the Yakuza one just because I've not played those games. But the Dragon Quest 3 one, that was my confusion when they announced the remake. I was like, oh shit, should I wait for them to do 1 and 2? And then I was looking, I was like, oh no, the third one is like the first game. That's really dumb. Like, you shouldn't have done that. You should have named it something else.
Right.
But that's really all it is. It's just a naming convention issue. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think of other good examples of this, and I didn't have great examples where, like, the prequel is the right place to start. I guess I would say...
I don't think so either.
Like, The Hobbit it's good to read The Hobbit first. But if I was going to watch the movies, I would watch Lord of the Rings first and then The Hobbit. Oh. Just like I would do with Star Wars. Like I would watch them in release order, not chronological order.
Yeah. If I was going to watch Lord of the Rings, I'd watch the Lord of the Rings movies and then just not watch the Hobbit movies.
Well, yes, those movies are not great, but I still like them.
Yeah, I know. They're fine. They're fine. Metal Gear is sort of falls into this same category as other things because like Metal Gear Solid 3 is a prequel, but
would you play that one first?
No.
Those games are all so different.
Right. Well, they're on like different generations of hardware. Mechanically, they're very different. I'd say 2 and 3 are somewhat similar in terms of capabilities and mechanics because they were both on PS2. But, yeah, I certainly wouldn't recommend 3 before 1 and 2. Mostly because, so I think what a good prequel does is fills in gaps in the story that and gives a reward to the people who've played the series already. Mm-hmm. And like, so if you were to play Metal Gear Solid 3, not only would you be like spoiled for gameplay features and stuff going back to the first one, but you wouldn't get as much out of it because you don't have the context of all the characters and the callbacks from the first 2 games. It's like I just could not recommend doing that. Trying to think. I guess I don't know that many prequels in games.
Yeah, I don't know how common of a thing that is. I think is the bigger part.
It probably happens a lot in JRPGs that I just have not played.
True.
I guess like Gears of War E-Day is coming out potentially next year.
Right, but that one is very clearly like nostalgia baiting.
Right.
Like I can't
like,
imagine
I would not recommend.
that would
like
be
that's
the best
another
place
one
to
I would
start.
not recommend.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say like I guess I'm sure there are exceptions, but as a general thing, I would say no. Like I wouldn't start with a prequel that came out after.
Yeah, because anything that is, again, in general, anything that comes out after is made for people who already have context.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just think like release order for a lot of reasons is the way I would almost unilaterally recommend. Like even if Yakuza 0 feels like a decent starting point, I would still say that like you would get more out of Yakuza 0 had you played the other ones first, because like you get to know Majima or whoever is in it. You get to know them as characters, and then like you're like, oh, now I get to like figure out why they are the way they are. And I think that's more interesting than just experiencing it linearly. It's more interesting to have some mystery that gets to be solved instead of experiencing it in a linear fashion.
Unless that's the intent, though, which I don't know if that's the case.
I don't know that it is necessarily.
But like, if they made a prequel that was aimed at attracting a new player, then yeah, sure. But I feel like that would be obvious and in the marketing of it. And I don't know that that's the case for Yakuza 0, so I don't want to say that it is.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say generally I would probably play them in the order they came out if you wanted to play all of them.
Yeah.
Unless you're a crazy person that's like, yeah, I would just jump in and play Killzone 3 without playing the prior ones.
Right.
Like a psychopath.
I guess Batman Arkham Origins, you could probably play that first and it would be fine.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, it would, again, it's that weird thing where like it would be rough then to go to Asylum and have it be a little pared down. But from a story perspective... Well, I don't know. Arkham Origins, maybe. Look, Cody just played them. Cody certainly liked Origins much more than the first one. But Cody was also not doing every side thing. It's that from a narrative perspective, I don't know that I would have an issue with it. I think it would make sense. It'd be fine. Gameplay-wise, there's that weird friction of like, now I'm going to go play a worse version of this, or a clunkier version of this.
Theoretically, yeah.
Right.
All right. We should move on. Because Connor has 2 PSs.
Oh, boy.
First PS is a food quiz for Kyle.
Okay.
And then he's got one for both of us. So, Kyle, Connor wants to know which fast food places you think use real eggs or fake eggs. And I have a little tally here so I can track which ones you got right or wrong.
Okay.
Okay, I have the real answers here. I'm pulling this up so that I'm on point. Bojangles. Do you think Bojangles uses real eggs or fake eggs?
So here's my problem right away. Does real mean they're cracking an egg on a stove, cooking it, and putting it in a thing? Or, like, does fake mean it has to be, like, reconstituted egg powder? Or does fake also encompass, like, hey, we get these things that were real eggs at one point, but they have been made into these like things that we just reheat and slap onto a burger or whatever.
Connor did not elucidate the question any more than he did. So let's
explain.
Make the assumption.
That is my assumption: is that a real egg? Yes. I'm expecting it to be cracked and cooked.
They're cracking eggs in store. I think that is a good assumption.
Okay.
Does Bojangles use real or fake?
Bojangles is real.
All right. Burger King.
Fake.
Chick-fil-A.
Real.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Real.
McDonald's.
Fake.
Panera.
Real.
Starbucks.
I'm going to say fake because I don't know that they have a grill.
It's a good way to guess. Subway.
Ooh. Real.
Taco Bell.
Fake. They've got too much other shit they need to make.
Whataburger.
Real.
White Castle.
This one's 50-50. I'm going to say real.
And finally, Wendy's.
Real.
All right. Let's maybe tally these up. 1, 2, and you did pretty good. You went 7 and 5.
Okay.
I think so. Some of the surprises here. Chick-fil-A uses fake eggs.
Okay.
I would never have guessed this. And that was honestly really disappointing because I eat their egg a pretty decent amount. We get breakfast there like a couple times a month.
Wow, way to not be an ally.
What?
I said way to not be an ally.
Do not go down that path with me. Back in the day, I had to block someone on Facebook for getting into me about that.
Yeah.
I can eat at fucking Chick-fil-A. You should not have brought that up.
I got you actually mad.
These are sensitive times for like allyism.
Dude, I'm just saying it's the people at the top. These are the squabbles they want us to have, so we're not looking up. It keeps us looking down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because now we're talking about socio-political issues on a CEO donating money to like Pray the Gay Away style charities, which is why people hated Chick-fil-A several years ago. Instead of talking about the fact that they use fake fucking eggs. That's the real issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was also very surprised.
They're both real issues, but okay.
Yeah, of course. Of course the first one is more important, Kyle. I was doing a bit.
Oh, okay.
I was also very surprised to see that McDonald's uses real eggs.
Oh,
Chick-fil-A fake.
I did
McDonald's
know that.
real.
I did know that because so a long time ago, this is years ago, I was hanging out with Cody and my partner Kara, and I think like they were asking if I wanted McDonald's breakfast or something, and I I was just in a bad mood because it was the morning. I said something about like, I don't want that powdered egg bullshit. and I remember them saying, "Oh, it's actually real. We looked up the real eggs." And so just like me, like disgruntled in the morning, going powdered egg bullshit is like a thing between us now.
Taco Bell real eggs, which I'm happy to. I don't get breakfast at Taco Bell like really ever, but glad to hear that they use real eggs. Also surprised that White Castle uses real eggs. You guessed this correctly. I would have absolutely guessed that they did not use real eggs, but they do.
Okay.
So yeah, 7 and 5. Not bad.
All right.
All right. Connor continues. For both of you, I'm curious how many of these you agree on. Pick the better of the two. Big Mac versus the Whopper.
Am I going to go first each time, or should you go first each time?
Yes.
Okay.
You go first.
I prefer the Whopper because I like the grill flavor of the burger.
100%. Totally agree. I do like Big Mac sauce.
I like the Big Mac sauce.
It's a good burger.
If I could get the Big Mac sauce on the Whopper, I would do it.
Yes, the Burger King burger is just a higher quality burger. So yes, I prefer the Whopper.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich versus a Popeyes chicken sandwich.
I've not had a Popeyes chicken sandwich. When I get Popeyes, I just get their like breaded chicken. I like the flavors that they have at Popeyes. You know what? I'm going to say Popeyes because Chick-fil-A, their chicken sandwich, the chicken's like thicker than I want. You know what I mean? Like in the middle, because it's like a whole breast or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's too thick in the middle for easy eating. So I'm gonna go Popeyes.
That's fine. You're stupid.
That's fine.
Chick-fil-A has like the best. Oh, it's so fucking good. Any of their chicken
sandwiches. It's great. The bun is great.
Are delicious. I do really like Popeye's chicken sandwich also. I am like you. I tend to get the tenders. I'll get the spicy ones. I like the different sauces. But I have gotten their chicken sandwich a handful of times, and it is very good. I just prefer Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Taco Bell breakfast crunch wrap versus the McGriddle.
I don't do McGriddle. I do the bagel at McDonald's. I do sausage, egg, and cheese bagel. I've had the Taco Bell Crunch Wrap before. I think there's one that has like jalapeno sauce in it or something that's really good, like a jalapeno jelly sauce. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the Crunch Wrap with the jalapeno jelly sauce. I don't know if they do that anymore, but yeah.
I am not a big Crunch Wrap person. I have not had breakfast at Taco Bell, I don't think, ever.
Okay.
I have had a McGriddle, and I prefer not to start my day with diarrhea. So I'm going to go with the Taco Bell breakfast Crunch Wrap.
Well, look, it's diarrhea either way. It's just what flavor you want it to come out.
All right. KFC fried chicken versus Popeyes fried chicken.
I like Popeyes better. I think
these are both
I think KFC
excellent options.
I think the chicken is better, but the Popeyes flavors of their chicken that I can get are better. I like their like spicy whatever.
The Louisiana style.
Yeah, dude,
yes.
It's so good.
I agree. I like the spices better at Popeyes. You can also KFC is usually good, but it can tend to be more oily at times.
Oh, for sure.
And I've never had bad fried chicken at Popeyes.
Yeah. I also I don't love fried chicken. I don't love the breading.
Really?
I would always prefer grilled over fried. Yeah.
I'll eat chicken anyways. I really like. I mean, it's got to be good breading.
Right.
I love the crunch. The crunch. I'm all about it.
Sure.
All right. Domino's versus Papa John's pizza.
Racist Papa John's. Thank you.
See, I am hardcore Domino's. We order Domino's very regularly. I'm part of the rewards program. We got Papa John's a couple months ago just because I was like, I got to do something different. We got to see what this is all about. And it was trash pizza. Horrible.
All right, man.
I used to like Papa John's, but it was gross. At least this one time. And Domino's is always good. In a weird way, it's better the next morning cold out of the fridge.
Sure. I think Domino's is fine. I would always go Papa John's first, though.
Denny's Grand Slam versus IHOP Breakfast Sampler.
I haven't had either of those, so I abstain.
The Grand Slam is a classic. I'm not usually I'm not a big breakfast eater
Me
in
neither.
general, so I don't have like strong opinions. But I did used to get the Grand Slam a good amount. There was a Denny's near where I went to college, and we would go there occasionally. I'll get the IHOP thing too, but if I'm going to IHOP, I'm usually going to get just like heavy pancakes, heavy waffles, that sort of vibe, versus getting like a breakfast sampler. I'm there for the pancakes. But yeah, I do think the Grand Slam is better, straight up. Wingstop Buffalo Wings versus Buffalo Wild Wings.
This is funny because Kara and I just had Wingstop like 4 days ago for the first time. And this is not recency bias. I think the Wingstop... So B-Dubs has gone super downhill over the years. Like the quality of their wings is not good. It is very inconsistent.
Really?
Yeah, it's very inconsistent. Like how well done they are, like how big they are, the size, the shape. Like how much sauce they give you. It varies wildly location to location, so it's quality control nightmare. I never know if I'm going to get good B-Dubs or not, and it's super expensive. Wingstop, like literally 2/3 the price of the B-Dubs wings, and I think their sauces were still really good. I don't love them as much, but also thought their quality control on their chicken was much better. So it's cheaper, better quality control, like slightly worse sauce. So I'm gonna go Wingstop overall.
Yeah, I have not been to Wingstop in a very long time. I do get Buffalo Wild Wings semi-regularly. It's kind of like a tradition for me. The opening weekend of football,
Oh, sure.
I get way too much Buffalo
Hell
Wild Wings.
yeah.
It's sort of like that's my like pick-me-up place. If I'm having a really rough week or whatever, I'll be like, "Hey Kelly, can we get Buffalo Wild Wings?" And she's like, "Dude, yes." Yeah, I mean, the Buffalo Wild Wings where we get ours, I've not had any complaints of. I think their sauces are incredible. But I have not had Wingstop in a while. I gotta go Buffalo Wild Wings because I still think they're really good. Their cheesy potato wedges are also extremely good. So yeah, I'm gonna go Buffalo Wild Wings. Skyline versus Gold Star Chili.
Secret third option, Wendy's.
Yeah, I have no passion for Skyline nor for Gold Star Chili.
No.
I frankly haven't had either of them since I moved out of the Midwest.
I'd rather have Steak and Shake as well over either of those.
I did like Skyline chili. Like, Skyline chili is very divisive, but I did like it.
A lot of cinnamon in it, which is the big kind of differentiator of that, like, Cincinnati-style chili. Yeah, I don't hate it, but I'll eat it. But I definitely, Wendy's chili is that thick, meaty chili with the big old beans in it. That's the good shit.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed many a Skyline Coney. I enjoyed many a Skyline on noodles.
Sure.
I ate Gold Star way less, but I did like Gold Star also. But I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to order chili anywhere.
Okay.
Because I'll make chili at home.
Yeah, like
better.
Kara and I have a bomb ass chili recipe that we just absolutely love. That we make it all the time.
We had chili last week. Yeah,
nice.
That's not a thing I want to order when I'm picking up food.
Sure.
That's like a hearty, homey style thing that I would rather make at home. Cane's versus Zaxby's.
I've never had Zaxby's. Things I love about Cane's. I think the chicken is great. The breading is not too thick, which is good for me because I prefer the thinner breading. Less breading for me is a good thing. I do not find their fries to be exciting. Their coleslaw is pretty bland. Their Texas toast is incredible.
See, that's what I was gonna say about Zaxby's.
I also
I could eat a whole fucking loaf of their Texas toast.
For sure. Like that's how I feel about Cane's as well. Cane's sauce is good for 1 cup. And then it's too much. And then I need a different sauce. They don't have any other sauces at Cane's, which is criminal. They should at least have a barbecue sauce. I think
that is weird.
I think that is it is a good portion of what is wrong with the food industry is boils down to Cane's only having one kind of sauce.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I feel similarly about Zach's sauce. It is extremely tangy and very overpowering. It is delicious, but I'm the kind of person that dips. I like a lot of sauce.
Yeah, dude.
I do big dips because I'm a big dude, you know? But Zaxby's, I just need a tiny taste. Otherwise, it's an explosion and it's just too much. But it is a very good flavor of their sauce. I'm going to stretch the parameters because I think the spirit of this comparison is like their chicken. I think Cane's is good. I've not had Cane's in a long time either. Zaxby's is kind of the go-to in the South. But I will also give credit to Zaxby's. They have a fried chicken blue cheese salad, as they call it,
God.
with like a spicy buffalo sauce. It is so good, dude.
2 salads, please.
Yes, comes with some Texas toast on top.
Okay.
It is so fucking good. But yeah, they have really good boneless wings that they do with really good sauces. They got like a sweet and spicy sauce that is really good. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Zaxby's.
All right.
Outback versus Chili's.
I'm gonna go Outback. The bloomin' onion, the bread. Oh man, the bread at Outback, iconic. I also think they have pretty good steaks, all things considered. I'd rather go to like
good seasoning.
Yeah. I would rather get a steak from like a Longhorn or whatever, but I think the Outback steak is still really good. But man, that bread is the big one for me. Chili's, I think they have an incredible black and blue burger. I also like their chips. I don't like their salsa, but their chips are nice and thin with big salt crystals. That's great. That's fun. That's a good time. I think they have fun drinks at Chili's. Outback, as far as like a whole package goes, though, like more diversity, more diverse things that I think are great. I'd go to Outback.
Yeah, this is an easy Outback for me. In fairness, I've not been to Chili's in a long time, but I have not been to Chili's in a long time because Chili's was trashed here. It's maybe they're way better now. I don't know. I do see their commercials a lot. The Chili's near us went out of business, and they put in like a drive-through barbecue place. So we fucking upgraded in that context. But yeah, Outback is very good. I do like their steak. I'm not a fried onion ring person, but yeah, the good steak, good shrimp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shrimp.
Really bad Australian accent in the commercials.
Right.
And then a free-for-all. Best fast food fries.
So Wingstop does not count as fast food, I don't think. But when we just had Wingstop fries the other night, those are amazing. Like their regular fry seasoning fries are so good, and they give you a lot of fries. I think I prefer those to the Five Guys fries.
Five Guys fries are very good.
Yeah, which are probably my second favorite.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about those.
Again, that's fast casual. I don't know if that counts, but
I think it counts.
Yeah.
It's still like a walk up, walk away place.
Yeah.
Like you're not sitting in there.
I'm not passionate about any other fast food like drive-through fries.
There aren't a lot that are really good. Like Burger King fries are I'm not a big fan. Wendy's fries are pretty mid, but the classic for me, which is absolutely top tier, is McDonald's. McDonald's fries are so far beyond any other fry, in my opinion, in terms of like fast food kind of fries. If they're overcooked, they fucking suck.
Yeah.
They're hard and hollow.
And if
but
they're
that
undercooked,
very rarely happens.
which sometimes
they're
happen.
even better.
No. Ugh.
They're like soft, salty mush.
Gross.
Yes, please.
No way.
Yeah, McDonald's is the top tier. And for me, number 2 is Chick-fil-A. Their waffle fries are so good. Huge variety in shapes and sizes and salt content. You just, every bite is going to be a little bit different. They also have excellent sauces. Chick-fil-A sauce, honey mustard. They got like a sweet and spicy sriracha. Really good sauces for dipping.
Yeah.
Because like to me, like McDonald's is in a tier of its own. Chick-fil-A is in a tier of its own.
Though, like, I don't think I have had like the McDonald's fries in years. Like
McDonald's near me,
they're never like what I want them to be.
Yeah, maybe it's because like the McDonald's near me is like an idealized McDonald's.
That's crazy.
AKA it's attached to a gas station, which is like the absolute kind of McDonald's you want to go to. But yeah, they rarely miss on my fries.
Man, I'm really jealous. Because I have like 4 different McDonald's that I can go to in my area that are within reasonable distance, and we circulate them every now and then. I don't know that I have had like the iconic perfect McDonald's fries in years. They just we fucking suck over here, dude. It's Ohio.
Bummer,
no one
man.
gives a shit.
Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I don't have like a third because McDonald's and Chick-fil-A are so far above anywhere else to me. I don't have like a strong other candidate.
Okay.
I do still enjoy a good curly fry from Arby's. Those are like a unique style of flavor that I think are good. Their regular fries I think are also pretty decent. Freddy's. Do you guys have Freddy's up in the Midwest?
We do have a Freddy's near us now. It
Okay.
took over
it's
the A&W.
Okay. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, it's in the tier of like a Steak and Shake,
right?
Or
it's
those
literally
kinds of
the same thing as a Steak and Shake.
Yeah. They're like really skinny kind of pencil fries.
Yeah.
I think are decent. They're pretty good salted. But I think if I had to pick a place that like I go to regularly, it would be Zaxby's. Okay. They've got some of that like Louisiana. I mean, it's not Louisiana, but it's that style of spice on the fry. And those are quite good.
Okay. If you get Wingstop, I don't know if you have one near you, but if you do get Wingstop,
I don't
definitely
know that we do.
get the fries because those were.
Yeah, I will.
I was very surprised, and like the amount that I got, it's like a pound of fries. It was crazy.
Can I count the like cheesy wedges from Buffalo Wild Wings? Because those are like are pretty top tier also. I feel like if you're putting cheese on it, it kind of changes the category.
Right.
And I wouldn't order just the wedges.
Right.
They need the cheese, so I guess I'm going to disqualify those myself.
Okay.
It's got to be just fries.
That's the right move.
Fries just, as Mitch Hedberg would say.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it from Connor. Thank you very much. A 30-minute conversation about fast food.
Oh yeah.
Love it as always. And Connor ends his email. Thanks for the pod and Merry Christmas. Hey, because we missed an episode, all right? I'm sorry. This was supposed to be in January, Connor. Stop being passive aggressive.
I should probably take my Christmas lights down outside. All the snow, like today's the first day we don't have snow on the ground, so I'll go do it this weekend.
Nice. Well, let's finish up here. We've got some February game releases to look forward to. A few of these we already mentioned in our most anticipated games for 2025. As Kyle mentioned in that segment, on February 4th is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Also on the 4th is Civilization 7, which I feel like, is that coming to Game Pass? I feel like I saw that it was coming to Game Pass. But no, I do not have it highlighted that way, so no, it is not.
Okay.
That's what it would take for me to maybe play Civilization 7
right.
as if it was on the Game Pass. On the 5th is Rift of the Necrodancer, the follow-up to Crypt of the Necrodancer. This is more of a straightforward rhythm game. It's got some like Guitar Hero energy to it. excellent soundtrack, really good sort of like music-based combat stuff going on. Yeah. February 6th is Keep Driving. This is sort of a throwback, side-scrolly, call it like a road trip game, where it's got a little bit of Pacific Drive in the upgrading your car, managing the minutia of the car to keep it on the road. Certainly not the like eldritch horror vibe to the story. It's more straightforward than that. But yeah, it looks like a good kind of chill time with some car management, good story stuff. 18th is Avowed, as we mentioned. Very much looking forward to that. Also on the 18th is the first episode of Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which is the new game from Don't Nod.
Teens.
Not to be confused with Life is Strange, whatever the winter one that came out last year, which was not made by Don't Nod, and I totally thought it was, and then I saw that it wasn't, and then I said, okay, I am no longer going to play this. Thank you very much.
Also not to be confused with the game Mixtape.
Also, that's the game Mixtape, which also looks cool. That game looks cool too. But this game is very much more the Don't Nod thing.
Right.
Like, you know, they made what was that game? Jusant. They made another weird one, that Ghosts of Banished Ghosts of Eden.
Yes, Ghosts of New
something. New Eden, sure, whatever. So yeah, they've been doing some different stuff that have kind of been hit or miss, but they're getting back to their roots here, and I think it looks cool. February 21st, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. One of these days, a Yakuza game, a Like a Dragon game, will be the one to make me say, yes, I will get into this series and try it. That has not happened yet, but maybe it will be Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Also on the 21st, Die in the Dungeon. This was you. You added this.
Oh, yeah. So this is a like a roguelike, like run-based, deck-building, turn-based game, which it's like 2D sprites. He plays a cute little frog boy with a sword. It seems like a good time. It's one of those, you know. It's one of those deck-building roguelike games.
Sure.
That has like fun, cute theming around it.
And then finally on the 28th, a game neither of us are going to play, but probably one of like the biggest games of the year, Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yeah.
Yay. People like Monster Hunter. I got nothing against it. It just ain't for me.
If you're into Monster Hunter, on February 2nd, that is... Okay, so the day...
Which is going to be...
So it will have been the day before the podcast goes up, but on Sunday... Capcom is doing a spotlight at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can probably catch VODs of it or video breakdowns of the news and stuff and announcements, but Capcom is showing off some more Monster Hunter Wild stuff. They're showing off like Street Fighter or some fighting game stuff, and also showing off some stuff from that new Onimusha game that they announced.
Yeah, we didn't do sort of like a Game Awards wrap up because we missed the January episode. But yeah, that was one of the more interesting reveals at the Game Awards. So yeah, I'm not going to watch the spotlight because I don't care about most of what they're showing, but I'll definitely look at the Onimusha stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned, no specific Game Club game this month as we are sort of retooling that a little bit for the launch of Party Select. So stay tuned. In March, we'll have some sort of update on Game Club. We might change the name of it. We haven't really figured it out yet. But that sort of thing, some sort of, hey, we're all going to play this together, send us your thoughts and opinions, that will exist in some capacity. So stay tuned to Party Select in March for that. And that's it. That's the podcast.
Yeah.
The final episode. Oh, I'm getting teary-eyed now. Now that it's happening, I'm getting sad. No, not really. No, but this has been a very fun thing to do that we started like 8 years ago as a way of just hanging out.
And then didn't do it for like 5 of those 8 years.
Okay, yes, that's true. It wasn't 5. It was
4.
What? We stopped in 2019 and picked it up in like 2022?
2023 maybe?
It was a couple years we didn't do it. But we've been doing this for like
4 years.
Hush. We've been doing this for like 4 years.
Okay.
On and off.
Yeah.
The actual content has been like 4 years.
Okay.
But yeah, it started just as like a dumb way for us to hang out. We thought that we had good rapport and would be fun to listen to. that kind of proved true. Some people like this podcast.
Yeah, a couple people.
But most importantly, it accomplished its goal in that it kept us hanging out and talking about video games.
Right.
And very excited to continue doing that with another friend on the podcast starting in March.
Yeah.
Which would be very cool and very exciting. Hopefully y'all are excited about that also. So for the final time, my name is Shea, and today I don't hate that we're finally getting close to launching this thing. It's been by the time we launch, it will have been like 3 months. We've been working on around 2 months at this point. A lot of work, a lot of arguing, a lot of passion.
Yeah.
But we're there, man. We're ready.
Oh, man. I almost didn't come together a couple times. It all almost fell apart. A couple of those conversations.
I don't know that that's
really.
true.
Not really.
Not really.
In a joking way. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't hate the same thing. I'm also very excited to get this thing off the ground and kind of like settle into that new rhythm. And I hope that folks who are listening are open to this. I hope it's not like you're nervous about it or writing it off. Like, do us a favor and give it a shot, like give the new person a shot, see how all of our, like give us an episode or two to really settle in. Like, we've already recorded a piece of content. We'll be recording a couple other pieces where we're going to like get the rhythm and the flow down. But this, like, we have a great rapport together already, the three of us. And so I think it'll be pretty easy transition for you guys listening. And I think this new person's perspective will be welcome, because I know Shea, you and I can tend to kind of drill down on the negatives a lot, and this new person tends to have a more positive outlook. So I think that challenging us will be a good thing, because we get a little bit of the back and forth, and that way people aren't hearing kind of one side of the Venn diagram.
This person, because like we wouldn't just bring on anybody, right? Like the last thing we want to do is like mess up a vibe that works for us.
Right.
But I knew that this person would slide in really well in terms of the rapport and the conversation. But I think the extra value is exactly what you're talking about. Is not that you and I always agree. We certainly do not. But we often have a similar approach and a certain like way of that we look at games. And we're both highly critical people.
Yeah.
Even if we disagree on that criticism, we both are very critical people. That isn't to say that our new friend joining the show is not critical, but this person, a lot of the conversations that we have had already start with this person being like, I don't know, I kind of think this thing is pretty good. And we're both like, are you stupid? Yeah. And so that, we're obviously going to be sensitive to that. The last thing we want to do is scare this person away in a public forum. But I do think, in all sincerity, that is a huge value add for us to get a different perspective, and a huge value add for listeners. There have been many times that a listener has written in to disagree with our perspectives on what we talked about. I love the fact that, you would write in to disagree. You feel like you can, and we're not just going to rip into you, maybe in a jokey way, but like obviously know that we respect your opinion. But those types of people that might find themselves disagreeing with us might find someone in this new host that they agree more with.
Right.
And I think that that's like a really cool thing on top of it.
Totally.
But yeah, and not to actually get sentimental about it, but I am just so appreciative to all the folks that checked out the podcast. A lot of listeners joined us when we relaunched a couple of years ago, but many of our listeners have been with us since we launched way back in 2017 and sat through the hiatus, I'm sure with bated breath. You absolutely were refreshing your feed every day just in case we came back. I know for a fact our friend Rod was doing that for sure. At least for a couple of months. He sent us an email. I think it was like 6 months after we stopped. I got an email from Rod like, hey, are you guys going to do the podcast again? Because I really liked it. So hopefully, y'all have enjoyed what we've done here. And it's not going to, it's not going away. Obviously, all of these episodes will live in perpetuity, too, in case you want to go back and reminisce. What word? Reminisce. Thank you for that word.
They'll still be right here on the same feed, so...
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, please, check out the description here for a link to the Party Select YouTube channel. Give us a sub there. As I mentioned, we will have some like YouTube exclusive content, just stuff that isn't a good fit for the audio only format. And you'll be able to see our dumb faces if you choose to watch our podcast rather than just listen to it. Or you can go back and forth. I do that. There's a fantasy football podcast I listen to. They post all their stuff, videos. Sometimes I watch, sometimes I listen, depending on like what mood I'm in or where I am. And I think that that's like a really nice, it's cool to have that option.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that we get to do that too.
Yeah, me too.
But yes, thank you everybody so much for listening to this episode and all other episodes of the Shea Hates Everything podcast. Keep subscribed if you are subscribed. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed. And as always, the most important thing, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Man.
So like
share with your buds.
Say like, hey, there's this cool podcast I've been listening to. You don't have to use the word cool if you don't feel like that's true. There's this podcast I've been listening to that I like, and they're launching a new thing, so now is a great time to get in at the start of a new thing.
Or there's this podcast I really like. It's been going on for several years. 2 really funny guys. You should go listen to their recent episodes and then know that they're going to change the whole thing and destroy it, and you'll no longer like it. That's, I work in marketing.
Yeah.
That's how you should position
that's
this
good.
value proposition that we have.
Yeah.
That's it. In perfect Shea Hates Everything fashion, Kyle and I came into this like, let's keep this to an hour.
Yeah, right, dude.
But sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for listening to the Shea Hates Everything podcast. Look forward to Party Select launching in March. And stay tuned at the end of this episode for a little tease with our intro music for episode 1 of Party Select. Peace out.